And
All right, we are
live.
live. Welcome to the Geeks Attic, folks. It's the first time I've gone live with a special guest, and we have Jeremy from Stupid Chainsaw Productions. Thank you, Jeremy, for coming. I really appreciate you showing up on the channel.
Thank you for having me. I've been really excited to work with you. It's been a long time since you've
Yes,
been
it has. Yeah. I know I used to join you a few times on your podcast, the Legends podcast, where we'd talk Star Wars Legends and all that fun stuff.
And stay tuned. We have 2 new episodes coming out this month.
That's awesome. Looking forward to that. But today, I thought we'd go ahead and talk about a few things. The state of Star Wars being the first topic, and how it's doing. We had The Rise of Skywalker, and didn't go so well for the critics and a majority of the fan base. A lot of people are upset about the whole saga coming to an end, as crappy as it ended. And now there's this new script leak, apparently, from the original signed-on director, Colin Trevorrow, that's out. And I didn't go too deep into that, but I heard some things that sounded way more interesting than what we got. Did you hear about that?
So, Colin Trevorrow, if I'm not mistaken, directed Jurassic World, correct?
Yes, yeah.
His directing style, I hate with a passion. I just find it boring and bland, and just Jurassic World to me was a really terrible movie. I mean, it wasn't as bad as Fallen Kingdom.
Yes, I didn't watch that one.
Oh, dude, you missed out on a dinosaurs running around a mansion.
Ugh.
And cloning is now a thing in the Jurassic Park universe.
Wow. Yeah, I gave up on that whole Jurassic Park thing. We've got a guest, Rob D, joined in the comments. Hey, Rob, welcome.
Oh,
cool. But yeah, we got Star Wars. So we got the whole script thing that's gone out. Colin Trevorrow denied. I mean, how cool would it be if they decided to go back and retcon everything and redo Episode 9? They would never do that, but can you imagine the outcry and
it would be interesting.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with last year they released the William Gibson script of Alien 3 and they made it into a comic book series?
No. Nope.
Well, that came out last year. As if any of you Alien fans know, Alien 3 was a complete mess, and there were several different scripts, and one of them was written by William Gibson, who, as I recall, actually gets credit in the credits for Alien 3, even though his script is completely gone from the film. And his script was very different. There was like the Soviet Union in space and stuff. It was completely bizarre. I liked it. I found it fascinating, but it was a weird one.
Yeah.
And this is what that strikes me as. And maybe Marvel would release the Trevorrow script.
That would be neat. Yeah, the What If.
Sort of like the Star Wars Infinities comics. Have you ever read those?
Huh.
A new Infinities, A New Hope. What if Luke shot the torpedo at the Death Star and it was a dud and it blew up Alderaan? Not Alderaan. Yavin 4.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes from there. The original trilogy. It was bizarre. Or Empire's What if Luke died on Hoth?
Oh wow. Yeah. Who would take over there?
Yeah, they were really fun. You talk to my friend Matt Wilkins. He hates them.
No.
I'm always a fan of what if stories, and I always like reading different drafts of like a script.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
think where things wind up.
Movie though, because I'm just so done with Star Wars, which we can get into.
Yeah. See, we've got Rob made another comment. He said, "I wanted the Last Jedi remake before the Rise of Skywalker remake."
You know what would be interesting, Rob, would be the 10-hour director's cut. I want to see what Rian Johnson's true vision for Star Wars would be, because that movie was like 5 hours long.
Yeah, probably so.
It was an editing nightmare, and it just, you couldn't even cut out another hour of it. It would have been a fine movie.
No. I remember walking out of that one and being just like a little shaken, like, man, I think I don't like this movie. And I remember my wife, she was there with me, and she's like, She liked it. She thought it was better than Rogue One, and I thought she was out of her mind. But yeah, it's the state of Star Wars to me right now is just crazy. You got people turning their backs on the canon. More people asking about what other Star Wars materials out there that doesn't involve all this nonsense. It's like, well, there's this series called the Legends Star Wars series, and there's about 150 so books or more, comics, cartoons. You got it all there. You even have the Ewoks, which I know that Matt Wilkins, our mutual buddy there, he loves the Ewoks.
He does love the Ewoks.
So Rob made another comment. Luke really would have screwed up if his torpedo blew up Alderaan. Yeah.
That would have been a good what if.
That would have been pretty bad, too.
I don't know how that would work, but...
Yeah, he's like, oops, just takes off, flies somewhere else. Easy way to become Sith quick, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Did you ever play Force Unleashed?
The Force Unleashed? I did.
First of all, we all know, if you follow my channel, you know I hate Force Unleashed. The one thing I will give Force Unleashed credit for is its DLC of what if Starkiller killed Vader and became the Emperor's apprentice, and he there's like a whole series of DLC where he kills Obi-Wan and he kills Boba Fett and stuff.
I didn't know that.
Turns Luke to the dark side on Hoth.
Wow.
It's pretty cool. It's some pretty cool stuff. Force Unleashed 2 with its DLC, tries to do a sequel to that, but it's not, because it's the dark side ending of Force Unleashed 2. And you fight Leia on Endor and kill her.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. Back then, I just played the game and I was done with it, moved on to the next. And I remember being really disappointed in the Force Unleashed 2 because you can beat it in like 6 hours.
Dude, it wasn't even a speed run. I did it in 4 and only died once.
Wow.
It was, yeah. It's like,
it didn't make that game really for the long run. It was just one of those quick, easy bucks, I think,
Yeah. My thing was with Force Unleashed 3, how is he going to hold a third lightsaber? Is he going to put these? A double-bladed lightsaber?
Yeah. That'd be an interesting thing to see. A double-bladed saber and then just a single blade in one hand.
I'd hate it because I hate things like that. But I don't know. I'd laugh initially.
Yeah. It's just kind of like that GIF that came out, or GIF, whatever you prefer, of Kylo Ren's lightsaber when they edited it to where it was like a Swiss Army knife when he opened it up.
Yeah.
I always thought that one was pretty funny. But in this current horrible state that we're in right now, do you plan on continuing to read the new canon books and comics?
There's only one new canon thing I'm slightly interested in. It's from Marvel, believe it or not, and it is the Rise of Kylo Ren miniseries that's going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the first issue. It was okay. We'll see. Well, the second one came out last week. I might check it out. Might not. I don't know.
Yeah.
With the novels, I'm done.
Yeah.
It was a complete trash bin of we can't write about the characters you care about.
Yeah. I wonder if that stuff's going to change now that the films, well, the Star Wars, the Skywalker saga is done. Are they going to be able to talk about these characters more? Do you think they're going to, the Disney part's going to hold off? Like, well, guys, let's wait and see if maybe we make a sequel, or are they going to just block out, like, okay, yeah, you have free reign now, but don't write anything back in this, what is it, the new series that the rumors are, the High Republic stuff. Maybe they're going to block out that time period, which they haven't even touched anyway.
I mean, I hope not. They will do it. They just don't like giving, I don't know. It's like Lucasfilm did stuff similar to this when in the Bantam era, where all of your stories were post Jedi. Like, you didn't touch the prequel era. In fact, it was really rare to see like the Han Solo AC Crispin trilogy. That was a rarity. That far back. I think at one point that was the oldest thing on the timeline. Are you muted?
Yes, I was muted. Sorry. Okay, we have a comment from Jeffrey Watson. Since we're talking about the books, he says, "What would be a great series of connected novels? The new canon books are just so bland."
Oh, connected novels.
So we could get into, yes, yeah, the new stuff's too bland. So you're looking for a Legends book. Which series of books would you like to get into in Legends? What would you recommend first? Hey, well, first of all, Jeffrey, if you could respond real quick, have you read any of the Legends books? And I'm going to wait for him 1 second. We got another comment, and then we'll get back to that. The Rise of from Star Wars Reviewed, the Rise of Kylo Ren comic should have been something bigger, at least be a novel. I agree with that. The biggest intrigue of the new sequel trilogy so far, and most fans won't read it because it's a comic book. That and the bad taste that The Rise of Skywalker put in a lot of people's mouths.
And the bad taste that the Marvel comics have put in people's mouths, too.
Yeah,
Marvel as a company as a whole is in a dire straits.
Right.
I mean, Marvel 108, like Marvel Star Wars 108 was the best thing that probably happened to them last year.
Mm-hmm.
And they try to sweep that under the rug.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably one of their highest selling things, too. And they probably just want to ignore that because it's like, oh, well, the Legends people do want their stuff, but we can't push it because Disney doesn't want us to. And Jeffrey said he has read some of the Legends books. Okay,
so, I mean, everyone will say the Thrawn trilogy, if you haven't read that. Thrawn trilogy is fine. I prefer the Hand of Thrawn duology myself. I think that's more refined. That's some of Zahn's best work. Darth Bane trilogy is a great series. Even if you've never read an Old Republic anything, the Darth Bane trilogy.
Right, that would be my first recommendation.
Starting point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know someone will be out there saying Republic Commando. You just got to get used to there's some dumb crap in those 5 books, but there's enough good to get you through it. Let's see. The H.C. Crispin Han Solo trilogy, the Brian
that is a good one.
Han Solo trilogy, and the L. Neil Smith Lando Calrissian trilogy is very underrated. They're very quick reads. I would highly recommend them.
And you can find that like at a used bookstore on eBay, as like those trilogies all put together in one book, so you don't have to buy all 3 separate books and try to hunt those down. But
I mean, they reprinted them when the buyout happened.
Yeah, a lot of these books being reprinted with the Legends banner. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I was just looking at this comment thing up here. With I lost my train of thought now. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
It happens. I was about the that comic series that we were talking about with Kylo Ren. I do have a buddy, Star Raptor. He says to pick those up. He recommended those. I just haven't been able to get around to it. But yeah,
Samuel.
He's real big. Star Raptor. Have you heard of Star Raptor?
I have not.
He's all about the new canon stuff. He does videos a lot. Puts out a lot of stuff for the new canon. He helps people follow along with everything pretty easy. And as we have conversations about things sometimes, and he's like, "You remember this?" And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. What book is that from again? It just makes me feel stupid. But he's real wise with the whole new canon stuff. Star Wars Reviewed. Have you listened to any Star Wars audiobooks? One of my preferred methods of consuming novels, if they have an unabridged version. Yeah.
Okay, so with a lot of the EU material, it is abridged.
Yeah.
At a certain point, it was right before Penguin Random House Audio bought the rights to Star Wars. They started doing some unabridged stuff. For instance, Fate of the Jedi is the only event series that's unabridged on audiobooks.
The Old Republic series, those books are also unabridged.
Yes, but that came with Penguin Random House.
Yeah, true. Okay.
Let's see, I'm trying to think. Death Troopers and Red Harvest are both unabridged. Those are incredible. And the thing with a Star Wars audiobook, for those of you who haven't listened to one, it has the John Williams score in it. It has sound effects. It is almost a play. In fact, they even have audio dramas. That was actually a big thing in the 90s. They did. I think they did the Thrawn trilogy. Was don't quote me on that one. That was an audio dramatization. The Dark Forces trilogy by William C. Ditz was an audio drama. Some of the Tales of the Jedi comics got made into audio dramas.
Mhm.
Dark Empire trilogy got made into audio dramas. First Crimson Empire was an audio drama. And just recently, if you're into the new canon, Dooku Jedi Lost was a really big audio
Yeah.
drama.
That one introduced a lot of cool lore too for the new canon.
Yeah, that has not been touched.
Yeah.
I mean, the only one, it was like the person who wrote that was writing it alongside Master and Apprentice. Those two paired really well together. I think they came out the same month or within a month of each other. It was that release schedule was the most draining thing. I can't believe you read everything.
Yeah.
Really.
Last year it was pretty hard to get to stay kept up with everything because they released a lot of material last year.
And it was a lot of phoning in.
Yeah, and that's what also steered me away from the comics too. Is that I fell behind because everything just kept coming out. Here's a new book. Here's a new book. Here's a new book, and I just got lost. I haven't been able to pick up Rogue Planet and finish that book lately, and I plan to. I'm still on chapter 7, approaching a year on that one untouched. Actually, in February, I remember I started reading it in February last year, put it down, haven't been able to pick it back up.
That was one of the first Star Wars books my parents read to me as a child.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember chapters of Rogue Planet because Tarkin's in it, a young Tarkin, which actually references Cloak of Deception, and like that continuity is there.
Okay, we got Star Wars reviewed, but many of the EU audiobooks after 2012 are unabridged. Just finished Heir to the Empire 20th Anniversary audiobook, and the narration was fantastic.
Yeah, Mark Thompson's incredible. The Thrawn trilogy books are unabridged, as are the Hand of Thrawn duology.
Yeah.
But the rest of Bantam's abridged, unfortunately. And the prequel novels are actually unabridged and were recorded unabridged at the time, which was a weird precedent.
That's good. Yeah, I did listen to the Phantom Menace audiobook, and I was pleased with that. I thought they added some really cool stuff in.
Yeah.
And I know you'll disagree with me on this one. But an Old Republic series, or not series, a book in that series that I think you should read would be Deceived.
Oh no, that's the one I like.
Oh, you did? Okay, I thought
Fatal Alliance.
Okay, yeah, that was horrible.
I hate Fatal Alliance, and I didn't like Revan that much.
The ending ruined that one for me. I'm not going to spoil anything for anybody who hasn't read it. I know it's been out a while, but
the second half is just basically. There's one character, and he's not a main character. It's the only reason to read the book is Lord Scourge, the Sith Lord. He's the only interesting character, and what the Sith are doing is very interesting in Revan. But Revan is the blandest character in that. And then the Exile shows up about halfway through the book, and she's also really boring. But it was nice to know that I'd made the right choice in playing a she in KOTOR 2.
Yeah, I never played those games.
They're fine. They're a bit dated, though.
Yeah.
If you were going to play them now, they're pretty cheap on Steam.
Yeah, I think they had one of the Old Republic games for free in the Amazon store one year that I downloaded to my Kindle. I created my character, and that was the last I picked it up. so that stuff's it's just hard to get into that stuff right now for me. Jeffrey Watson, do you think that we will get a lot more material in the Rise of Skywalker novelization than the movie? Yes. The author came out and said that if her book was the script for the movie, it would be well over 3 hours. So we're going to get a lot of material on that.
And they're going to call it Expanded Edition.
Oh, yeah. You're going to see that on the side of the book, on the cover. Which is silly because all the novelizations are expanded editions.
The only ones that are the original trilogy.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're slightly expanded.
Well, yeah, Alan Dean Foster did the Star Wars, and he also did The Force Awakens. It really didn't have much difference from the movie. I think
got arms ripped off.
Yeah, he ripped off the arms. I think that might have been like the only thing that was different, if I can remember correct.
Which they had. That's actually a scene they filmed and cut from the movie.
I didn't know that.
Deleted scenes. Well, they didn't finish the effect. It's like the extended Watto talk scene in Phantom Menace, where they just didn't finish animating Watto. So it's like pre-rendered cutscene, and then like normal, like what Watto looks like, then back to pre-render, then back to normal Watto.
That's funny.
It looks bad.
So we got Rob. Deceived was amazing. I want to know what precautions Coruscant put in place afterward to ensure something like that will never happen again.
Well, they thought they destroyed the Sith.
Yeah.
That was the precaution.
Yeah, they thought they were done with that one. They were wrong.
Yeah.
But so I think that might be good for the state of Star Wars. It's for me, it's going downhill. Sadly, I wish that there could be some sort of. I mean, they do have a new series coming. I don't know what it all involves. The Luminous Project Luminous. I don't know if it's books and comics, but the wording that they used to tease it was very confusing for me. I'm going to look that up and see if I can find what that wording was. But do you have any thoughts on Project Luminous?
No, I don't care. But my thing is, I looked at the release schedule for this year and was just disgusted. I mean, we're getting a sequel to Queen's Shadow.
Oh, it had her. Okay, spoiler alert for the Queen Shadow. Well, if you've seen the movie, if you've seen the movies, you know she dies. We have her funeral scene at the end of this book.
Oh God, that is how it ends.
Yeah, so it just jumps forward to her funeral.
I don't care. It was nothing happened in the book.
No, it was such a boring. That's the book that you blamed me that I ruined your.
So Geeks Addict sent me a free copy of it. I think I called you a name.
Yeah, you did.
No, and then there's a sequel to Alphabet Squadron. Oh,
yeah, that was a horrible book. Alexander Freed is such a great writer, and that book it made me sad.
I always wanted him to finish out Karen Travis's Republic Commando series, and now I don't.
Yeah,
that was a Karen Travis level of obnoxious.
Yeah, because I mean, he was like, to me, it was Claudia Gray and Alexander Freed right at the top. They were like at war with each other. Who's got the best writing? And then Alphabet Squadron came, and he dropped down a couple levels.
Yeah, he dropped way down. Yeah, Heir of the Jedi 2 should definitely happen, Rob D. That's what I always wanted, is first person from Luke's perspective.
Yeah. I think I missed something up here, too. I try to keep these comments up here so everybody could see what we're saying and answer your questions or your comments. While I like the book and comics expanding upon the story of movies, I feel disappointed that I have to read the Rise of Skywalker novelization to understand the movie. Yeah, it is disappointing, and I'm actually looking forward to that book more than I am seeing the movie again.
I don't know if I'll read it.
You know,
I'm on the fence about reading because the others have just said no. I mean, what are we getting? Another Thrawn trilogy? The last Thrawn trilogy didn't feel like a Thrawn trilogy.
No, it felt like it was more of like a little. It should have been like a series that was continuing on. Like maybe instead of doing a new trilogy, finish up. I mean, where is Thrawn right now?
Oh, you want the spoilers to season 4 of Rebels?
Didn't he get blasted off into unknown space?
Yeah, Ezra flung him into a hyperspace lane to unknown with space whales. It was stupid. And then at the end, Ahsoka and Sabine go to find him after Return of the Jedi.
Well,
that's stupid.
You know what else is stupid is Rob D's comment here. Heir to the Jedi 2 will save Star Wars.
That's not as stupid as season 4's End of Rebels.
Rob, get out of here.
Oh.
Do you remember Heir to the Jedi? You remember how bad that book was?
Yeah. I listened to that audiobook because I couldn't actually read the book. And I baled so much cardboard listening to Heir of the Jedi. It took me forever. Like, I did so many cardboard bales at work with Heir of the Jedi playing.
Yeah. I
have a plot. It was the strangest thing.
It was so bad.
Well,
it was so bad.
It would be an EU book. Have you heard this story?
Yeah. Yeah, it was supposed to be part of the whole...
the Empire Rebellion trilogy. There was Razor's Edge, Honor Among Thieves, and then Heir of the Jedi was just a name. I'm almost certain Kevin Hearn wasn't supposed to write it. they hadn't contracted anyone yet. And it was like the first up until Aftermath, and maybe a little after Aftermath, because I know for a fact that Lucasfilm would have never put Chuck Wendig in when the EU was around. Chuck Wendig is a product of the new canon, but A New Dawn was retooled to be a Rebels story because they had John Jackson Miller under contract. Tarkin was almost done, or was mostly done by James Luceno, because that has EU references in it.
Yeah.
It was retooled to be new canon. Heir of the Jedi was a name where I'm almost certain Paul S. Kemp was probably going to write another Old Republic or a New Republic story, and then they're like, can you do Lords of the Sith? He had written EU before. He wrote Deceived, which we're talking about, but he also did Cross Current and Riptide.
Yeah.
One of the few Star Wars time travel stories.
I want to say, Rob D, he said it was a joke comment. I know, Rob. I was just giving you a hard time.
Yeah.
Nobody likes Heir of the Jedi or wants a sequel to it. Who Leo, or Lio, sorry, I don't know names very good. He says, yo, Rob, and this is why I have not invested in new canon, because the novels, he's not invested in the new novels besides the two he has. He hears they're more bad than good. There's some good things and there's a lot of bad things. Jeffrey, if y'all could write a Star Wars novel, what era would it be in?
I've talked about this before. It would be, I want to write at least a trilogy of Count Dooku stories in the EU, chronicling from his training under Yoda to his training of Qui-Gon and Kamari Vosa, to his eventual slaughter of the Jango Fett's Mandalorian tribe, his fall to the dark side after Qui-Gon's death, then his rise as Count of Sereno, and then to retcon Dave Filoni's Clone Wars and tie all that together. Because one of my favorite chapters in Matthew Stover's book of Revenge of the Sith is the duel between Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Count Dooku, and it's from Count Dooku's perspective. And you get what he thought was going to happen in that duel. And he realizes that he made a horrible mistake and he was betrayed. And it is just beautiful.
It would be cool.
What about you, Matthew?
What novel would I write and what era would it be in? That's a hard question for me. I don't really know, honestly. I always wanted to see the story of, we have a Plagueis novel, but I would love to see more of that stuff on screen. Especially, when he's just the way he's talking to Anakin. I want to see that on screen with him killing his master in his sleep. I think that would be just so cool to see him getting all that power, that rage, just changing. And I believe in, I know somebody in the past told me on here, I can't remember if it was Rob or one of the other guys that joins me on my Star Wars commentary shows, about how Palpatine, when he reveals who he truly is, like his face, that lightning didn't melt his face. It was just, he used that as an excuse to reveal who he was, that dark, nasty, lizardy looking guy. I want to see him look like that, running around doing his little secretive crap. I think that'd be cool.
I've always thought that his body, because in Dark Empire, Dark Empire, he's clones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he possesses the clones because he's so powerful. The dark side destroys his body. I've thought by the time between Revenge of the Sith and Return of the Jedi, he's gone through at least 5 bodies.
Yeah,
just with all his Sithy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Return of the Jedi Palpatine, because he's so withered looking in that, and he's so gaunt. I've just assumed that body was just on its last legs.
Yeah. Well, it's like I'm bringing up another channel, a real popular one, Red Letter Media. Did you watch their little review on The Rise of Skywalker?
Yeah, I watched the Half in the Bag.
And how there's Mike. He believed that Palpatine, the Sith that we see in The Rise of Skywalker, was actually just a clone of Senator Palpatine.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was actually, I don't know if he truly believed that, but he was given really solid points of why he believes that. Well, I think it really could be. It was pretty good. If you guys need to check that out, I think you guys should go look at it. But there's some comments real quick, and then I wanted to talk about that Project Luminous real quick because I brought up what I wanted to talk to you about with it. Star Wars Reviewed. I, for one, have enjoyed the new canon novels. Everything Claudia Gray, I have absolutely loved. Claudia Gray has done great on a lot of stuff. The Leia book.
I like the Leia. Which one? Princess of Alderaan?
Yes, Princess of Alderaan.
I preferred that over Bloodline. Bloodline I found tedious.
Yeah, I thought I would want to revisit Bloodline. I haven't. I still Lost Stars to me has been put up on that pedestal, but maybe I need to give that a re-listen. And now that some time has been is there between the last time I saw it, it might not be as good as I thought.
Master and Apprentice slaps, in my opinion. I know you had things you really didn't like about it, but that's my favorite new canon novel. It's the only one I'd voluntarily. Actually, no, I'd reread Twilight Company.
Yes, which leads into what Rob just said. He would write a Battlefront series focusing on the soldiers, 2 books for each era, 1 book for each side. That would be great. See, that's what I thought they were going to do with Twilight Company, which Alexander Freed, amazing author. That was, I thought, a very underrated book. Nobody was talking about that one when it came out. I loved it. That was my number 2 book. I think it still is. But I thought they were going to do a series with that. Yeah, let's focus on the Rebels, then the Empire, go back to the Rebels, follow that team throughout the years, building up to the Battle of Jakku or whatever they were going to do.
Yeah.
It would have been great. But then they came out with Battlefront 2, which took place... Yeah, Inferno Squad, which I enjoyed that book. I think you had some issues with some of the reveal of that book.
Yeah, with Lux Bon Terrier at the end.
Yeah.
It's just a dumb character in the Clone Wars.
Yeah. I get that.
Interest that they gave up on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, happens to be the book that I'm also on the back cover of, too.
That's true. I forgot you have a review on that.
Yeah. I remember when I found that out, somebody was like, hey, congratulations. I'm like, for what? Like, you made it on the back of the book. I'm like, no, I'm not. Went over to Barnes & Noble, and I was like, oh, my goodness. I'm on the back of this book. Del Rey, didn't you have to ask me something? Nope. But, yeah, I think a Battlefront series would have been great. They should have done that. I don't know why they haven't thought, maybe we should make a series out of these books. It would have been easy. You could have all sorts of authors write different things for that. We got Quality Autism. Hey, welcome, Quality Autism. If A New Dawn was made into a Rebels tie-in after the fact, what was it supposed to be originally?
I don't know. That's the one I don't. It may have just been a name, and that's I don't know. It's John Jackson Miller, so I would assume it would be Old Republic. That was his sandbox. With maybe it'd be a Knight Errant tie-in. I hope not. He needed Kara Holt alone. He could not get any of us to like that character.
He really loved that series, didn't he?
Yeah, well, I mean, see, the thing with Knight Errant is the principle, as Matt Wilkins put it, the principle of Knight Errant is good. And just a Jedi fighting for the little person.
Mm-hmm.
That's what people think Jedi are doing. And she doesn't care about the Jedi or the Sith. She just wants to help the people. But she's so boring.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't like that character or the book. So we've got Christopher Nelson. Hey, guys, fun chat. Well, thank you, Chris. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Chris. Congratulations, by the way.
Yeah, having the twins. So back to that Project Luminous. Here's where I get really confused with it. Because, yeah, it's like interesting because we got Claudia Gray, Justina Ireland, Daniel Jose Older. I wasn't a fan of his writing. He did that solo book.
Yeah, Last Shot.
I didn't like. We got Kevin Scott and Charles Soule. So Kevin Scott, he does a lot, and so does Charles Soule. I think they do a lot of comics as well.
Yeah, they're Charles Soule's Marvel's boy.
Yeah,
he wrote the Poe Dameron comics.
Yeah,
that's what you probably know him from. Which are not bad.
I think Kevin Scott also wrote a Warcraft book too. One of those young, the Traveler series. It's actually the 3rd book in the series just came out. It's sitting over here on my table. But the Project Luminous, the ad for it says, "The Force is what gives a Jedi his power. Its energy field created by all living things, until Project Luminous." What does that even mean?
I don't know.
The wording on that is so confusing to me. The Force is what gives the Jedi its power, its energy field created by all living things until what? It's created in a lab?
I don't know. This is the same canon where no one has to be trained in the Force anymore. They just can pull down spaceships, which I hate.
Yeah.
So stupid.
Yeah.
That's what I hate about Force Unleashed.
Yeah, he was way too powerful, I thought. I wasn't in the Star Wars lore. I didn't read any of the EU books. I just saw a Star Wars game. I was like, oh, I like Star Wars. Got the game, and I thought, well, this is fun, but this isn't real. This never existed in Star Wars. I knew so little back then.
George Lucas, I just don't get why he was so attached to that out of anything.
Yeah.
That was, like I said, we talk about it in the next Legends podcast, but that was when the EU for a time just took this nosedive in quality control, because 2008 you had Force Unleashed and you had Dave Filoni's Clone Wars, and Dave Filoni's Clone Wars went out of its way to just wreck canon and just offend my brain. Yeah,
it's sad. Emperor Valse says Alexander Freed is definitely a great author that you put me in. A great author that you put me onto. Oh, okay. And his Disney books are among the best. Claudia Gray is definitely a great character author, but not as good in creating a world. I can agree with that. Yeah, Claudia Gray does very great with characters. She did do a good job writing the character of Leia, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. She's written the only compelling Star Wars characters that weren't featured in a movie in the new game.
Right. Yeah, and when it comes to Alexander Freed, he did the novelization for Rogue One, and I thought he wrote, what's her name, Jyn Erso, better than she was portrayed in the film.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Which was amazing to me.
The whole, shroud of darkness and her depression. I'm like, okay, yeah. Because that's the weak point of Rogue One is her and Cassian are just the weak points of that. I don't know. I mean, I guess you could say Orson Krennic's one-dimensional if you just watch the movie, but I had read Catalyst before that, and so I was getting a lot more out of that from that.
See, I did the same. I thought that was a pretty good book. And that author, who did that one?
James did that.
James Luceno.
Pretty sure he was under contract to write 2 books, and that was his second book.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they would bring back some of the old authors that did the.
Not Zahn.
No. Yeah, I'm
written a good book since Outbound Flight, and you all can fight me on that one.
See, I thought his books are more of that the hard sci-fi.
Yeah,
style.
Well, Outbound Flight just is a good story. It might be his best book, in my opinion. It's just here's this thing that I was really curious about in the Thrawn trilogy. I'm like, okay, here we go. That's Outbound Flight, and I didn't ever like to spoil Outbound Flight because people should go in there and just discover what happens themselves.
And that's up next for me, isn't it? After Rogue Planet, isn't Outbound Flight next?
Outbound Flight, and then The Approaching Storm, and then you're on Attack of the Clones. There's not very many adult novels in that time period. It was mainly Dark Horse Comics and the young adult Jedi Quest series.
Okay,
is in there.
Okay, but I'm just sticking to the novels. I'm not going to try to get lost in everything. Maybe eventually, if I can finish reading the novels before I die, then I'll go back and collect all the YA stuff and continue on with that.
Stuff's expensive. I always recommend Dark Horse because they're reprinting all that in those Marvel Epic collections.
Yeah, that's true too. Quality Autism says best comment about Project Luminous I heard is sound like they are going to kill the Force itself. Yeah, that does what it kind of sounded like. An energy field created by all living things until Project Luminous. So it's probably going to be a bunch of silly nonsense. And it shows little logos at the bottom of this picture. It's Disney, Lucasfilm, Del Rey, IDW, and Marvel. So this is going to be...
Oh, God. IDW is the little kid comic stuff. It's not
So, and I had no interest in getting any of those IDW comics. Oh, yeah. So, Rob, what... Do they honestly think whatever they have in mind will work for that Project Luminous? Do they not know the reaction to the midichlorians?
I mean, midichlorians, if you read Darth Plagueis, it's not that bad. I honestly don't care about the midichlorians thing.
Yeah,
it's dumb, but it's this is the same universe where you have a thing called a Death Star.
Yeah.
Or if you're in the EU, you got the Sun Crusher, the Eye of Palpatine,
Yeah,
these super weapons, and New Canon, you got Star Killer Base that sucks the energy star.
Yeah.
My dad and I were just talking about that last night, and he's like, "That's impossible." And I'm like, "Dad, it's space fantasy. It's not science fiction."
Yeah, yeah. Okay, Star Wars reviewed. Unpopular opinion. I like Thrawn and Rebels compared to Heir to the Empire.
Really?
See, I myself was never like I enjoyed reading the Thrawn trilogy, but I wasn't like everybody else thinking that it was just this is the best Star Wars. But of course, a lot of the people that loved it were old enough to back when they wanted more. Back after Return of the Jedi, were like, oh, we finally got something.
I love the Thrawn trilogy so much because the only adult novel I had read prior was Splinter of the Mind's Eye, which is bonkers.
Yeah,
absolute bonkers story. Go check that, by the way.
Yeah,
it's the only. It has a Luke Leia love love story in there, and that's awkward to read.
Yeah, which to me it would be. I know I don't think it really truly was, but I think that would have been considered the first decanonized book out of everything, right? Because there was supposed to be the sequel, and then George was like, no.
Well, it was the sequel if Star Wars bombed.
Failed, right.
That's why there's no Han Solo in it, because Harrison Ford wasn't contracted to do another one.
Okay.
Yeah. But no, it should stay in canon. It's although it does have something I hate, which is Luke and Vader have a duel.
Yeah.
That prior to Empire, but they explain it in a way that works in my mind.
Yeah. Okay, we got Emperor Vol says Rogue One novel definitely adds it definitely adds much to the movie, especially the characters of Jyn and Cassian. Very similar to the novelization of Revenge of the Sith, which vastly improves watching the film. I discovered that when I was doing my bookshelves, putting all the stuff in order, that the only book that I don't have is the novelization for Revenge of the Sith. And I need to correct that and get that.
I just read it.
Really?
Yeah, I just finished reading it. It's good. It's a lot better than I remembered. I'm not a big Matthew Stover fan, but I like that one. Mm-hmm. I'm actually thinking that once I finish Shadowhunter, I'll read Shatterpoint, which is this Mace Windu story.
Okay. Here we got Quality Autism Outbound Flight. For me, everything about Thrawn was good. Everything about Sabaoth, which, okay, I don't know how that name is really said. Sabaoth was terrible. Yeah.
I think that Mark Thompson calls it Sabaoth.
I've always called it Sabaoth.
I called it Kaboth. But yeah, I liked it. That's my favorite part because I like the Sabaoth. I like that character, and I liked his disdain with Palpatine was fascinating, and that.
Okay, I'm going to go try to get through these comments real quick so we can move on to our next subject. Star Wars Reviewed. I feel Heir to the Empire is viewed by so many through rose-colored glasses. I respect it so much for kicking off the EU, but don't understand the overwhelming praise. It's a good stepping stone into the EU. It actually, if you've never read a Star Wars book review before, it's like a nice stepping stone in, even today. Yeah, if you're wanting to reboot the Star Wars reboot, then I guess if you want a sequel to Return of the Jedi, then go back to Heir of the Empire. Mm-hmm. Rob, he says, I personally thought Splinter of the Mind's Eye was a 10 out of 10, and I probably am the only one that thinks that. No, man, you're not the only one. Quality Autism, the praise for Heir to the Empire is not just nostalgia. I read the trilogy for the first time 2 or 3 years ago. And Sabaoth is pronounced Sabaoth. Sabaoth. Say that fast. Sabaoth.
Okay. I will attempt to remember that.
Yeah, I've already forgot. I clicked off. All right, we're going to move on to the next topic. Something a little bit outside of the Star Wars realm, but can still be kind of lumped into it.
Oh, yes.
And that is retro fantasy films.
Oh, dude. So, fantasy films to me died with the Lord of the Rings. The Lord of the Rings trilogy is a solid trilogy. I mean, the books are far superior to the movies, and the movies, unfortunately, where they themselves are fine, they sent Hollywood into a terrible direction with movies. And the Hobbit trilogy made sure that those nails got put in the coffin. But the other day, I was like thinking about what are some high fantasy specifically, because high fantasy is more my thing, as opposed to something like Harry Potter, where you have some ground. There is like our world in there, and then there's this magical world. Like that's okay.
Right.
But I want like to be fully immersed, like Dungeons and Dragons style, like fantasy. And I was just craving that, and I rewatched Conan the Barbarian.
See, I have not watched that one.
You've never seen it?
Never seen it.
I'm going to give you my iTunes login so you can own it.
I do have the original novelization with Arnold on the front.
That's a good book.
Yeah, I've heard that is pretty awesome. But yeah, even like the movies like Willow, they could do that.
Willow slaps. That's like the bastard. Sorry, it's the bastard child of Lucas's films that isn't Howard the Duck.
Right.
But it's the one that no one touches. It only just got a Blu-ray release, like a re-release last year. It'd been out of print for like 8 years.
Well, I think there's talk of turning it into a series, like a sequel series on Disney Plus.
No,
which that probably will ruin a lot.
I don't want them touching anything. Just remaster Willow.
Yeah.
Put Willow in 4K. That's what we want.
Yeah. It'd be awesome if they would do a lot of this these touch-ups to the old fantasy films, especially one that you told me you watched last night.
Oh, yes.
1981's Dragon Slayer.
A Disney film.
A Disney film.
A Paramount Disney joint effort, which is bizarre. And it is one of my favorite fantasy movies ever now.
It's made in 1981, so obviously some of the effects are going to be a little iffy. But if you can disconnect yourself from, today's flashy explosions and clean graphics, it'll blow your mind.
My dude, I'm going to be real with you.
Mm-hmm.
That is the best looking dragon I've ever seen in a movie.
It is the best dragon.
Except for when it flies.
Even comes close.
It's bad. When it flies on a blue screen, you can see the
right. You can see, and there's
but
the water scene too. It seems it's like cut in half when it's like half in the lake.
Oh, I didn't notice. They cut away quick on that. It's the flying where its wings don't move.
Right,
it glides. That's a little much, but
yeah. But I mean, this movie, it stars Peter McNull, which he's in. I don't know what else. He's in Ghostbusters 2. He was the villain in the second film.
Oh, I forgot Ghostbusters 2 existed.
Yeah. And then Caitlin Clark was the leading female, which I don't think she's been in anything else.
She died of cancer 10 years ago.
Who did?
The female lead.
Oh, she did. Wow.
Yeah. She died of ovarian cancer. And ouch. That sucks.
Yeah, it is pretty sad.
There's the guy who played Palpatine's in it, though.
Yes. Ian McDiarmid is in Dragon Slayer. It was a nice little surprise for you when you saw it.
Yes, that was. I'm like, this is probably where George Lucas saw him.
Yeah, because
play the Emperor.
Yeah, well, it's 1981. Yeah, what is Return of the Jedi came in in 83 or something like that.
Yeah, they were probably shooting in 81 or 82.
Yeah, and see what's cool about Dragon Slayer is that it mirrors a little bit of Star Wars in a way, right? You got, the wizard. Say that one more time.
The hero's journey.
Yes, definitely. You got the young guy who's being apprenticed by the old wizard, which they've got to go on this long journey, but the old man's like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make the journey. Somehow makes it work, and he's like the Obi-Wan Kenobi role. is that actor Ralph Richardson, which I think he was more of like an old time popular actor back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, such like a really simple story too.
It is. There's a few shocking things. I thought it was rated. I didn't look at the rating before I started watching it.
Yeah,
I didn't realize it was PG. I thought it was R.
Mm-hmm.
There's a not graphic nudity, but like
it's borderline. It's close. It's there. You see some butt, I believe.
But, I mean, Yor the Hunter from the Future also has a bunch of ass.
Yeah.
But like,
yeah, and you get the graphic playing of a
paled.
Yeah, yeah. It's a great movie. I mean, like we said, the dragon, coolest looking creature. Which there's a photo that you could find. I've shared it a couple of times across social media. The dragon's name, by the way, is Vermithrax pejorative. If you watch it again, you'll catch a few little things throughout that are just add to the history of it all. But yeah, Vermithrax. There's a photo that the people at Lucasfilm or Industrial Light and Magic put Vermithrax and the Rancor together fighting each other. What? And it looks so cool because it's like that creature would fit into Star Wars if they had like a dragon planet or something stupid like that. It would be awesome. But yeah, there's some. You want to go look at these photos, guys. If you have not seen this movie, I think if you just look at the photos on IMDb, it'll make you want to see it.
With the reveal of the dragon, like I like the little dragons too.
Oh yeah, the babies
puppets, but like they were. And the fact that they don't make the stereotypical dragon roar sounds, that they make these like growlings. They sound like dogs.
Yeah, like pups, in a way.
Like pits, like pit bulls.
Yeah, yeah.
Like one of them eating this girl's foot. That was so nasty. I loved it.
And what's cool is, like, to me, like I said to you before we did all this, was the music was even nominated for an Academy Award. Yeah. Alex North was the composer for that. So
were the special effects.
Yeah.
Yeah, got nominated for 2 Oscars. And no one talks about this movie anymore.
Right.
In fact, this doesn't have a Blu-ray release.
I know. That's the saddest part about all of this stuff.
It's been HD. It was in HD what I was watching. It was a good transfer, but it was a decent one.
Right.
It's free on Amazon Prime, but it's like the IMDb streaming service, which I didn't know existed. So there are ads. So it was like every half hour, it's like, oh, here's your Toyota. It was like your Hyundai ad in the middle of the action. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I got to say something. There's a bunch of comments are coming in, but there's one that I have to highlight real quick before we'll come back and I'll look at these other ones. But there's a guy here that I haven't seen in a long time. Gerald Walker, went to school with this guy, elementary school up to high school. He says, yo, Matt, keep up the good work. I'm watching. Thanks, Gerald. Got to get yourself back to Oklahoma sometime. We could go grab a drink and talk and hang out. That's good. That makes me happy. But yeah, I think I've made Gerald watch Dragon Slayer too back in the day, maybe.
But you had recommended this movie to me for years.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, you need to watch Dragon Slayer. You need to watch Dragon Slayer.
Yeah.
I couldn't find a copy of it for so long.
It's hard. eBay and Amazon, they sell it. I think it might be easier to find it on eBay than on Amazon. But yeah, I've got it. You could also get it on iTunes now. So iTunes and Amazon, like you said. I think you could either rent it or buy it or both on YouTube as well.
Yeah, you can buy it on iTunes, I do believe, but it's expensive on there. I just don't like doing things on iTunes because iTunes doesn't do enough sales.
Yeah.
Dragon Slayer, you should all check that out.
Yeah. Like I said, effects could be a little iffy sometimes, but the story, you'll get lost in the story. It's that, yeah, it's gritty. It's
gritty, but also doesn't take itself seriously.
Right.
Which is, it takes itself seriously enough for you to be invested.
Yeah, and I'm going to see the length of the movie. It's not very long, if I recall. I think it's like an hour and a half, maybe.
Hour 48 minutes.
Hour 48 minutes.
Yeah.
I could have gone for a 2 to 3 hour movie, honestly, but
well, us now, we're trained for that.
Right. Exactly.
That's standard.
And like I told you as well, I think you no, never mind. Touchy subject. The novelization. I remember you sent me a picture where you had it.
I did. I think I had 2 copies of it at one point.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Lost that in the fire.
Yeah.
That's sad. Well, I have a couple copies. I could send you one.
Oh, please do.
Every time I find the novelization for this movie, I buy it.
I know it's like you and the movie novelizations of Star Wars, but you don't own Revenge of the Sith.
Right. I know. It's
like
stupid.
40 copies of the original Star Wars.
Yeah. I don't know why I do it. It's just you go and you see it for like $1.50, you're like, why not?
I have one of those.
Yeah.
I mean, I have the Barnes and Noble leather bound of the original trilogy, which I think is the best way to read it. It's like $25. Pick it up new.
Yeah.
I like that. I like those. I wish they'd done more of them. So far, Barnes and Noble's only printed for Star Wars the original trilogy novelizations and the AC Crispin Han Solo. Novels.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Well, there's another.
Go on.
Go ahead.
Okay. I was going to talk about another fantasy little short you showed me, which was what was that? Black Angel.
Black Angel. Yes.
A lost film.
Yeah. I'm so glad that they found it.
It was a test film too for stuff techniques they were going to use in Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, and they even showed it. I believe Roger Christian. I can't remember what his exact job title. I think it might have been production design or something. Something to do with production, I think, with Star Wars Empire Strikes Back. And he directed this short film. It's a fantasy. To me, it would fit in the realm with Dragon Slayer. It's just got that same gritty, like dark skies type of vibe to it that I really enjoyed when I watched it.
Yeah, with Dark Angel. Yeah, the Jessica Alba TV show from like 1999, 2000. That's obviously what we're talking about. No, Black Angel. It is very dreamlike.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's very fascinating. It's very much Dagobah and how they filmed Dagobah, specifically the tree.
Yes,
the magic tree in the dark side.
Yeah.
There are similar parallels. In fact, the version Matthew sent me has the director's opening thoughts and stuff and talking about.
Yeah, it plays that before it goes into the short film.
And you should watch it with that in mind.
Yes, definitely. Get a nice little history lesson. And I actually did a blog post on this on my website a long time ago when that first came out. I think it might have been my first blog that I wrote, actually. I begged people to go over and watch that. Don't know how many people actually paid attention to it, but hopefully they are now, and they go see it. Black Angel by Roger Christian. You need to go watch it. It's like 20, that video with his opening statements and everything, I think it's all together is like 27 minutes. And I think the short film itself might be 20.
Yeah.
So
short film, and it's nice and to the point.
Yeah, and it just gets that little bit of a fantasy fix for you.
You know what it reminded me of? Certain filmmaker I love, Ridley Scott, made a beautiful fantasy film in the 80s with one of my favorite actors, Tom Cruise. And that'd be Legend.
What was it?
Legend. Legend?
I have not. I think I saw a clip from it once. Isn't there a witch that like pops up out of a swamp or something?
I think it's a goblin.
A goblin? Okay.
With Legend is a lot of pretty images, but not a lot of substance.
Mm-hmm.
It is one of the most beautiful movies you'll ever see. It's one of his Ridley Scott's best looking movies. But story wise, if Tim Curry wasn't in it, you wouldn't care. Tim Curry basically plays Satan in it. And I saw it as a small child, and it made me terrified because I thought it was the devil at the age of like 4.
That's funny.
I'm like, I don't want to go to hell.
Right.
This is a horrible nightmare.
That's funny. See, I need to put that on my watch list. I need to find out if that's playing anywhere or if I need to rent it. I will.
It's solid. There's a bunch of fantasy movies because fantasy movies are like kind of a joke still, which is upsetting.
Yeah.
Unless it's the Lord of the Rings.
That series is coming out on Amazon sometime this year, correct?
Are they doing something else? Is Peter Jackson involved? He should be banned.
No, he's not involved. I think it just takes place like 1,000. I could be wrong in saying this, but I think it's like 1,000 years.
Into a series, is that what's happening? Because I don't want that either. I don't want anything.
You don't want anything, Lord? Yeah, you don't want him to screw it up.
Tolkien's stuff to me is unfilmable. They did a good job trying.
Yeah.
With Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy, not his Hobbit trilogy.
I was not thrilled with the Hobbit stuff.
The Hobbit trilogy is what feels to me like what Red Letter Media feels about the Star Wars prequels.
Yeah.
It was absolutely unbearable, and why a book that's not even 200 pages?
Yeah, I was just about to say like 190 pages or so.
3-hour films, and it was a CG fest. It was awful.
Yeah.
A lot of me covering my face with my hands in those movies.
I mean, your main characters are all dwarfs. They're supposed to look ugly, but your lead dwarf
looks like you could be in a JCPenney's commercial.
Right. I mean, give him the fat nose.
Make him look. They had prosthetics for all of the dwarves. It's just I think there was actor ego going on. Don't quote me on this because I don't care to know that. Like that's why I've never like bothered to look at it. But it's like, is it actor ego?
That was the first thing I thought of too. Is like this guy, he wants to have his face shown, or Peter Jackson's like we can't have our lead look like an ugly little dwarf.
Yeah,
the concept art. I looked through a book that had concept art for it. It looks great.
Well, yeah, Guillermo del Toro was supposed to direct. There was only supposed to be 2 films, which was bad enough to have 2.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Guillermo del Toro's work?
I've seen a couple of his movies. I can't recall which ones, but I was never too thrilled.
I recommend Pan's Labyrinth. It's a fantasy.
That's one that I did see. I did enjoy that one.
It's disturbing.
Yeah. Subtitles. Spanish film.
Do not watch it dubbed. It's a bad dub. I dated someone who would not read subtitles, like she refused, so we'd have to watch all. And I was really into foreign films at the time, and we had to watch everything dubbed, and it was horrible.
Yeah,
just watching. There's another movie I really like, a German film called Run Lola Run.
Haven't heard of it.
From like 2000, and it's like she's trying to save her boyfriend from robbing a convenience store, and she has to run, and then she fails, and then the day repeats, and she has to run again. And it's like a music video. It's something that would have been made in 2000 and only in 2000. It's a product of its time, but it's beautiful. But the American dub is horrendous.
Horrible. Yeah.
Like most dub.
Yeah, that's funny. Any other fantasy stuff that you would recommend for people to watch?
Yes, I have several here. Conan the Barbarian is a classic. You want to see Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime?
That'd be the one.
That is the one. That is the director saw him competing in Mr. Olympia and is like, we finally have someone who is the physical representation of what Conan is. And it started his career. It doesn't have very good acting except for James Earl Jones is in it, and he's incredible like always.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's very dark. It's very violent. It has what I call the most tasteful decapitation I've ever seen in a film. It doesn't linger on it at all. But yeah, Conan the Barbarian. And if you're really curious, Conan the Destroyer, you can check that out, but that's pretty bad. Same with Red Sonja, if you really want to go down that rabbit hole of bad. Krull, that's a little more science fiction, but it has a lot of fantasy elements. It's also one of Liam Neeson's first movies. Doesn't have a lead, but he's in there. It's weird. It also has the best stop motion spider I've ever seen in a movie. I mean, that thing's seamless. It's near the end of stop motion effects.
Mm-hmm.
It was probably 84, 85 that came out.
So we have a comment from Matt Wilkins. He's teasing me. He said, Matt, I want you and Chris to come on my channel, which is something that I said to him. I said, I want you and Chris to come on the channel. Invites Jeremy instead. Boo.
You know, Matt, I tried to call you the other night and you ignored me. I'm just saying, and then you said that you would ignore me tonight. So why are you on here harassment?
Harassment.
Call the YouTube police.
Internet harassment.
Yeah, I'm being cyberbullied.
Uh-oh. Matt, we're talking about fantasy films. I guess you could consider would Evil Dead, not Evil Dead. Army of Darkness could be considered a fantasy film.
Kind of a parody, but it's very well made for what it is. Clash of the Titans. That's a
Clash of the Titans.
I mean, that's the peak of Ray Harryhausen's effects. That's the end of the Harryhausen era. If we're sticking with 80s, Your Hunter of the Future is kind of stupid, but it's fun. The Deathstalker movies, but you have to be prepared for rape. There's a lot of that going on in those, and that's unpleasant. A lot of rape for the sake of let's see some boobs, which is also in your low-budget movies of the 80s. Right. Yeah. There's a lot of that.
That's how you got your views back then.
Yeah, that's how you got your rental money back.
Yeah. See, Rob D says, do you guys know about the number of rings in the Lord of the Rings 3791, matching Tolkien's death year, 1973? No. I did read tonight that I guess his brother or son, it was his son, died at the age of 95.
Oh, Christopher Tolkien finally passed.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, he's been interpreting J.R.R. Tolkien's notes for decades now and releasing them in novels. So
it's crazy.
You throw Matt's second comment up there because Ice Pirates, check that out. That's cheese fun, but it's definitely should check out Ice Pirates.
Ice Pirates.
I mean, if you want to go way back, Jason and the Argonauts is a classic fantasy. Any early Sinbad movies with like Ray Harryhausen effects are good. They're not good, but I mean the effects are really good. And Errol Flynn's Robin Hood from the 40s. I'm partial to that because I live in the city that it was filmed in.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Filmed in Chico. Yeah. Yeah, Christopher Tolkien died. #sad face.
Yep.
He was 95.
Yeah, long life.
Yeah, and I mean, he was still Fall of Gondolin, which was another Tolkien book. He released that to
20 years ago.
Yeah, end of 2018.
Okay. Yeah, this would be a nice, fun collection of books to get to. The whole Tolkien series.
They're very dry.
I've heard that
they're like reading history textbooks. You have to be in the mood for it.
Yeah. I think the Silmarillion, right, is supposed to be like the Bible of it all, right?
Book of Genesis for part of it, and it's fascinating, but it is rough. And then you got different versions of it. They're called the Histories of Middle Earth, like your Book of Lost Tales 1 and 2. Yeah, Matt is really, he's read all of it. I've read a lot of it. I've not read all of it because it gets redundant for a while. Because I think it's the Lays of Bellion is just the poetry of the Silmarillion in a book. It's just it's things like that.
Right. Now I know you were reading a fantasy series not too long ago. Might still be doing it. I can't recall the name of it, but there's 100 books or so in that. I know you tried to recommend them to me once before, but there's a certain trilogy within the whole series that I can't recall what it was that you were reading.
It could have been one of two things. It could have been Dragonlance.
That's what it was.
Okay, yeah, by Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman. I met Margaret Weiss at Gen Con in 2016 when I went with Matt and Dylan. That was really cool. Early D&D type stuff. Unfortunately, the Dragonlance universe never took off, and the Wizards of the Coast D&D supplements, Forgotten Realms, did. And Dragonlance kind of floundered out, and now it's like a dead IP.
So they're not still publishing books for that series?
No, it's kind of dead at the moment. Chris Nelson is also really into it. We talked about that forever ago. Yeah, Bone is incredible. Definitely recommend that comic. But also Terry Brooks' Shannara books are very good. Or if you listen to the audiobooks, Scott Brick calls it Shannara, which drives me nuts. Otherwise, those audiobooks are pretty good.
See, I was reading a series, and I made it to like book 4 or 5 with the Wheel of Time series.
Oh, Robert Jordan stuff?
Jordan, yes.
Yeah, those are interesting. They're very long.
They are very, very long. Over like 1,000 pages for each book. So yeah, I started reading those like a year or so before I got into Star Wars, because I was still in that like, I don't think I like reading, but I should probably read. Made it a couple books in, and then I found Star Wars books, and I was like, okay, well, I'm hooked. And here I am now talking about books on the internet. And Matt Wilkins, he said before, he says at first, yep, the third book is everything in prose. Amazing. Tolkien made such a deep history for Lord of the Rings, but then again, that's why it's such a good series. Yep.
Exactly, and you can't translate that to film. It's just not possible.
Right. And he says he's rereading The Wheel of Time now. Wow.
Matt, didn't you meet Robert Jordan right before he passed away?
That would be amazing. He just started book 1 over Christmas. Through still on chapter 6. Been busy. Yeah, it's hard to read a book that long. I mean, like I'm somewhere in the middle of book 4 or 5. I think it's Fire from Heaven might be the book that I'm actually on. But I know they have audiobooks for them. I revisited the first couple books that I did read in the audio format, but I don't want to continue the series listening to the books. I would like to read them, because there's just to me, when it comes to the fantasy stuff, it's just a different feeling when you read those books compared to when you listen to them. Like the Star Wars audiobooks are a completely different experience. You could listen to those, be fine, not have to read the books, but
yeah, the certain audiobooks are still really like solid. And I prefer them over the novel. Like, I would have never finished Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand if I had read Atlas Shrugged, because it's so dense. But listening to it was significantly better. Granted, that book's still incredibly dense listening. But, oh gosh. Dragonlance is fine to listen to as well. I enjoyed with the exception of Scott Brooks saying Shannara instead of Shannara, I enjoyed listening to the Shannara trilogy. Yes, Quality Autism, you should definitely check out Shannara. Just a heads up, Sword of Shannara is very much a Lord of the Rings ripoff book.
Which book is that? Book 1? Okay. He's got the first 3.
Then Elfstones is fine. It's my least favorite of that initial trilogy, but it's solid. I was a big fan of the Wish Song of Shannara. I thought there was like this more doom than the previous 2, and it was like every time he would write a Shannara book, it was like, okay, what do you do after this? And it always shocked me. And I know there's so many of them now, and it's like the end times for Shannara. It's Terry Brooks wrote all of them, whereas Dragonlance is written by like a crap load of people at this point.
And Matt says, yep, Mr. Jordan signed his first book. Matt, that is incredible, because not too long ago, I found the Wheel of Time, The Eye of the World, in the half-price bookstore, and it was a first edition signed by Robert Jordan, and it was $600. And my wife actually almost let me buy it. Almost. And I'm not even kidding. She's like, well, I mean, yeah, but then you could sell it for like $1,000. And I was like, oh, I wanted to keep it. So, yeah, but when I went back, it was gone. The Wheel of Time books are as long as Dylan's excuse for being single. We should bring Dylan back in sometime. I think he's very busy.
Yeah, I mean, he and I podcasted out of the blue the other day, so
Nice talking to him. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
And Rob, I recently picked up the complete Sherlock Holmes, The Count of Monte Cristo, the Merry Adventures of Robin Hood, and The Wind in the Willows from Barnes and Noble.
Wind in the Willows was one of my childhood favorite books. There's a fascinating made-for-television BBC production of The Wind in the Willows where they had actual actors in there and they kind of put them in animal makeup. It was this weird stylish choice. And I thought it was just wonderful. I still think it's wonderful. If you can track that version of the Wind in the Willows film down, I highly recommend that. It's the best version I've ever seen of that.
Never heard of Wind in the Willows.
It's like a badger and like a frog and stuff. It's an anthropomorphic story, and it's very interesting. They fight weasels.
Huh.
There, it's like a series of shorts. It's like a slice of life thing. It's bizarre.
It's interesting. And Matt Wilkins says the complete Sherlock Holmes is solid. I've read it at least 3 times. Great series. Man, Matt, how do you love to read? You must be a fast reader too. I read at like a 4th grade level. It takes me forever to get through a book. Yeah, you didn't know that the Wheel of Time was that much. Yeah, you can probably put that on eBay for a pretty penny.
Matt, wait, an organ transplant, we'll pay for it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, hey Matt, don't sell that book just yet. Wait until they do a movie series or a television series, because that's probably coming soon.
Well, I mean, like they had a TV pilot of the Wheel of Time that was a piece of garbage. So I think it was Fox can hold on to the rights for it. Yeah, it's bad.
I thought I saw a picture actually not too long ago somewhere on social media. One of some scriptwriter posted a photo of a script for the Wheel of Time. They're like Eye of the World. I could be completely wrong.
No, I wouldn't be surprised. It is I think it's 20th Century Fox, which I mean it's Disney now that owns to it.
Yeah. And I know they with the Wheel of Time they had a comic series too.
Yeah,
along with the books
done by Dynamite.
Yeah, and I was never able to find all. I wanted to get them all, but I held off for some reason. But I was never able to find all of them. Like everywhere I look, I'd only see like the first 3 issues of like trades. I only find the first 3 of them. I never found any of the others anywhere. So I wasn't gonna start collecting them if they weren't gonna make them all. So I need to check that out again and see if they continued. And Matt, he says, Mr. Toad. It's even a ride at Disneyland.
Yeah, because they did do an adaptation of The Wind in the Willows, mainly Mr. Toad's segment of it. It was a double feature it was called, like just what Rob D said.
Yeah, The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad.
Mm-hmm. It's weird. It's a weird little double feature.
See, Quali Alton is finishing up some Clone Wars books now. Just got done reading Shatterpoint.
How was it? I've heard a lot of bad things about it, but there's some interesting stuff in it that I know of. Yeah.
Yes. Matt Wilkins says, if Dylan were a girl, would he have more friends?
I mean, I don't know. He needs to try to have more friends. That's his issue.
Quality Autism. Matt Wilkins is asking if you liked Shatterpoint. Did you enjoy it? And I remember, Christopher Nelson says Shatterpoint is Matt's favorite book. Okay.
I don't know. I thought 000 by Karen Travis was Matt's favorite book.
I thought Matt's favorite book was The Crystal Star.
Hey, you don't talk crap about The Crystal Star. That book's not bad.
Makes me nauseous. Hitting the button to purchase that book made me nauseous. But then when it showed up being the misprint, I was so happy. You could hear the joy in my voice in my last video. I would have had to try to return it. My excuse, it's The Crystal Star. I tried to order The Witch. I think Matt told me that when he's like, you should return it and say it's The Witch. Matt, hey Chris, check it out. After telling us how much he wants it on his channel, he invites Jeremy instead. I plan on having you guys too. I had a nice phone conversation with Jeremy the other day, and I thought, hey, I got to get this guy on my channel. He could be my first guest.
Thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah, and it was short notice for me too, and for him. But Thursday nights might be my day to do this stuff from now on. Not every week. I'll try to do it every week, but convincing the wife, that's kind of a hard thing. Christopher Nelson, I thought that was Republic Commando 000.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah. I know that Matt really likes clone Jedi romance in his books.
Quality Autism. Yes, it was an interesting read. Got an Apocalypse Now vibe from it. That's interesting. Now, Shatterpoint, is that the one that has Mace Windu on the cover?
Yeah, it's the only Mace Windu novel.
Oh, that's sad. He definitely deserves way more than that.
Yeah, it seemed like Mace Windu was forgotten except for in the Tales comics, which was really unfortunate. There's a ton of... He got his own issue of different Tales comics back in the day, and they're all terrible.
Hey, Quality Autism has to go to work now. So later, Quality Autism, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for being on.
And Chris, Matt wanted us on his channel, but instead read Shatterpoint.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. But for the fantasy stuff, I mean, we all love fantasy. Star Wars is fantasy.
Star Wars is...
And that just kind of...
See?
Yeah, it just kind of leads back into our final topic, is escapism. So why we love to escape reality, we turn to such things as fantasy and sci-fi, right?
Yeah.
That's the problem with the new canon right now. It goes back to the whole state of canon. It's not escapism anymore. It's just reading current times crap in Star Wars filter.
It's the diversity quota. Like I say every time, you have to have this, and this all checked off in your social commentary on things and how you feel about things to sell books. And it's like,
those things don't even lead to anything in the story. There's nothing to it.
Yeah, it's
it just makes people hungry. We're seeing it now for some good Star Wars content, and it looks like that good Star Wars content is just going to have to be the expanded universe.
Yeah,
a Legends banner book.
Yeah, continue some Legends.
And that's whenever I find myself reading that, there's a joy that I have when I read it, as to where with the new canon stuff, it feels more of like a chore. It shouldn't be that way. When I want to escape reality and have a good jolly old time, it's got to be the expanded universe or a fantasy novel like The Wheel of Time. Okay, Rob says Mace Windu shined in 2003 Clone Wars.
Yes, he has that great two episode arc in season 1.
Yep. And that was on Geonosis, wasn't it?
No, it was on
right? If I remember correct.
I'm talking micro series.
Yeah.
No, it was Dantooine.
It was
Planes.
Was it a wheat field? Yeah, okay. Things are crossing my brain. It
was Dantooine. I could be wrong. Yes.
Dantooine, yep.
Yeah. Rob D just listed it, like reading and interpreting my brain right now.
Yeah.
Also, that in season 2, we watched that. Didn't we watch that together? No, we did a podcast on Jenny Tartovsky's Clone Wars.
Yes. I was on that episode.
Years ago. That was your episode. No, Dylan, Tristan, and I all sat down and watched it, like streamed it together, and Tristan fell asleep. I'm pretty sure. He like not slept for days.
Yeah.
Like a kid.
I'm going to go back up to the comment that we missed earlier. It's back to escapism, which is why everybody's here. They love Star Wars. That's what helps them get away from things. The evil and terror of the world. Let's see. Here we have Star Wars review. I don't think we've reread this one. Feel Heir to the Empire is viewed by so many through. Oh yeah, we did get that one. Sorry, it's going to take me a second to get some of these. The Heir to the Empire Thrawn is a bit too much for and Ex Machina. Sometimes while reading it, I just ask myself, how the crap did he figure that out?
I did the same thing in the new canon.
Yeah, he knew too much all the time.
I mean, he's like the super genius, and sometimes it's awesome, sometimes it isn't. Splinter of the Mind's Eye, 10 out of 10. I'd rank it high. It not just as a story, but as what it did for the EU. I mean, it's the original EU.
Yeah.
In the Archie Goodwin's Marvel comic series.
I think we got to that one. I think some of these have been mixed up. I'm seeing some of the same comments. Does Darby O'Gill and the Little People count as a retro fantasy?
I've never seen that.
I've never heard of it. It sounds like an old film. And the Little People, can't imagine them doing that today.
I mean, they wouldn't do Willow today.
Right. No, they wouldn't. So Red 5, what guys are your top 5 Star Wars novels for both canons?
I can't say that word on here.
It's a rough question.
Oh, yes.
I can give you
sandpaper when it comes to the new canon.
Yeah, it's like I gotta look
I should even give you 5 new canon books I like.
It's a tough one. I have to look at the shelf to remember these things.
I know. I'm looking over here, and I'm like, oh, I left my.
I mean, okay. I'll say for the Legends EU, I'm gonna have to go with the Bane trilogy. So that's 3. Death Troopers, that's 4, and Kenobi.
Okay, yeah, Kenobi's incredible. Darth Plagueis is number 1.
It's a rough question. It's one of those I gotta think about.
Let me just throw 5 I like in there. So Darth Plagueis, Dynasty of Evil specifically, just to pick one of the Darth Bane books because that was shockingly good. Kenobi.
That was in one of the top books that I had read, or first books that I had read in the expanded universe. In fact, I bought that when it came out.
Shadowrunner, which I'm in the middle of right now. And don't know.
Well, you're thinking Emperor Kurtik, or I can't say stuff like that. I don't know how to say that name. Heir to the Jedi is the best canon book. I don't know if you're joking or if you're serious. It seems like there's been a lot of Heir to the Jedi talk.
Yeah, Master and Apprentice is the only one I'd put in my top 5 for new canon. Actually, no, I put Jedi Lost because technically they put that in book form. I can cheat with that.
I guess for the new, I don't know. I gotta look. It's tough.
Oh, I kind of want to put No Prisoners in there. The Clone Wars, Karen Travis post 9/11 book.
Yeah,
they're on space Afghanistan.
Weird.
It's very weird, but it's the only Star Wars novel where you get Captain Rex's perspective.
That's interesting.
It's really good. Also, it ties into Children of the Jedi. Callistia's in it, and Pellion's in it. So you get a lot of Bantam ties in that one. Actually, it's the best book with Pellion in it, in my opinion. Pellion's a really cool character in No Prisoners.
Yeah.
Also, Ahsoka's not horribly annoying in it.
Oh, she's in some of those old EU books?
Yeah, so there's 4 Clone Wars Dave Filoni tie-in books. So they had Karen Travis wrote the novelization of the Clone Wars movie. Then they did a sequel to it called Wild Space, and 3 of these books are written by Karen Miller.
Mm-hmm.
So Karen Miller's just not that good of a writer, and in Wild Space, it has this horrible. It was when they retconned the timeline of Clone Wars, so Anakin wasn't knighted 2 years into the Clone Wars. He was knighted like 4 months into the Clone Wars. So then all of that EU material went from 2 years to like 4 months. which didn't make any sense. So that way he could have Ahsoka. That happens in Wild Space, and Ahsoka's annoying in Wild Space. She's barely in it. It's more of an Obi-Wan Bail Organa book.
Okay, I have a question for you. With Ahsoka, one of my least favorite characters in Star Wars. I've made that clear multiple times. Now, would you say that she's better written in the Expanded Universe books compared to her novel?
I was getting to that.
Okay.
And, Karen Miller, then the No Prisoners came out. It was the Karen Traviss book. That's sort of a precursor to Republic Commando, but it has Ahsoka in it. But the two books that Karen Miller did they're the Gambit duology and it's Stealth and Siege. They're terrible books, except for when Ahsoka's there. Ahsoka is the best character of the book. She does all of the cool stuff.
Interesting.
It's like, I felt bad for crapping on Ahsoka for so long. And I was like, can I have some more Ahsoka? It was a strange feeling. Those books are terrible. I mean, I don't know why they had to be Obi-Wan and Anakin in the roles. It just seemed like shoved in there.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like it.
That's interesting. Here's a callback to what we talked about earlier. Darby O'Gill is an old film that came out in 1959, and the little people are leprechauns.
Oh, I am not very familiar with 50s cinema as a whole. It's one of my weak points in my cinephile knowledge.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know any of that stuff either. And here's something too that I missed in the fantasy section of this video. I'm going to say it. People are going to disagree with me, but Ghostbusters, that could be a fantasy.
It's just, to me, it's just a straight comedy. It is one of the best written comedies ever made.
Right, like I've said, it's to me. When I really think about it, it's got comedy. Obviously, that's the more comedy than anything. It's got comedy, it's horror, it's a romance, it's a fantasy. It's like all of the genres in one.
It's Dan Aykroyd being controlled.
Yeah, because you got like the lore of it with the Gozer. They're bringing back an ancient god, and the Keymaster and the Gatekeeper have to bring it back. To me, that's the fantasy element of it.
Okay, yeah.
The sci-fi, they got all this equipment to capture ghosts. Okay, there's your sci-fi, and the ghosts being the horror, and the romance between Peter Venkman and Dana Barrett. The action, you got explosions, you got, couple explosions actually. Giant monster. It's a monster movie. You got the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man stomping through New York City. I'm telling you, it's everything. That's why I love this movie so much.
It is. It's lightning in a bottle, as Red Letter Media puts it.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters 2 is pretty terrible.
I still like it. It's not my favorite. But
it's fine. It's just you're comparing it to Ghostbusters.
Right.
That's part of the problem.
Yeah. It was an okay.
E.K. Johnston, I've referred to as the Chuck Wendig of young adult writers.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of hers either.
I freaking hate her books.
Yep. Emperor Kertek agrees. And Rob D., this is the first time I've ever heard anyone say anything positive about the Gambit duology.
It's the only thing positive in the Gambit duology. Everything else is crap in the Gambit duology.
I have those in paperback, but one of the paperbacks is really tall compared to the other one.
Yeah, that was how they were released at the time. Because have I told you my story of getting these in hardcover?
Mm-mm.
They don't exist in hardcover in the U.S. You have to import them from Century. So there are like $200 to $600 hardcovers. And I've bought them twice.
Are you serious?
Yes, these are some of the rare ones I own now. I own a lot of my rarities again, except for Republic Commando. Well, I knew it. I met a dealer. Like I bought a bunch of things from him like last year, and he cut me a nice deal on them.
It's good
because some of them had never been read before, so I had to heckle with them, and I paid a couple $100 for them.
Like pristine condition.
Yes, like they were in wrap.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Granted, I listened to the audiobooks, so I didn't actually crack them.
Hey, sometimes you got cheap to get through some of these books.
Yeah, there's some of the few unabridged EU books.
That's good. And my local library, there's an app. This might be in every state. I don't know. There's an app I highly recommend for you guys. It's called Overdrive. It connects to your local libraries, and you could check out audiobooks and have them for up to 14 days for free.
Oh, okay.
So if you need a way to listen to free audiobooks, it's called Overdrive. I highly recommend it. You can revisit those old Star Wars books that, well, if they're there, give them a listen. But I never said my top 5 in the whole canon series. And I'll just say it. Dooku, I'll count that as a book because they released it in hardcover. So it's on the bookshelf. It's a book, even though it's written in a script format. Twilight Company, Lost Stars, Catalyst.
Oh, yeah.
See, this is hard. I didn't like Tarkin too much. Lords of the Sith, that's the top one for me. And I guess I got one more.
Yeah.
We'll go with I'll go with Battlefront 2.
Ugh.
Because it had a video game tie-in.
You just like
for the most part.
Your reviews on the back of the paperback.
I've got to stay committed to it.
Right. I'm paid. Hey, Ryan, how you doing?
Hey, Ryan. Yo, thanks for coming. And we had Rob before that. It's the struggles of being a book collector. Yeah, it is hard sometimes.
Oh, yeah. It's especially when you have to recollect everything after it burned down in the fire.
Yeah. And when you want to find certain books, sometimes you have to find it in a store as to where, yeah, you could get it off of Amazon or eBay, but part of the fun is going around to all the bookstores that you can go to and search the shelves, which is what I plan to do for Revenge of the Sith, at least until the summer. If I can't find it,
I had that in paperback. It's a common one.
Well, like I said this to somebody the other day, is that the Expanded Universe shelf in my local bookstores is getting smaller and smaller every time I go in there.
Yeah.
People are buying the stuff up.
Yeah, they're buying it up. James Luceno is awesome. He's one of my favorite writers. Also, Barnes & Noble is like Star Wars sales are decreasing. So that's getting shrunk.
Yeah.
Like, it used to be a whole set of shelves, and last time I was there, it was like 2 shelves.
Yeah, I remember back when it was like 4 shelves wide, and now when last time I was there, it was just 1 shelf. It was all condensed down, and half of them were all hardbacks of this like Thrawn or still the Aftermath book. I mean, it's pretty sad when your hardcover of a book that came out 4 or 5 years ago is still on the shelf.
In where I live, they get rid of them.
Hold on one second. We got some bad news for Ryan. West Coast Amazon Crystal Star is just Crystal Star. That sucks. Can't get a hold of the misprint.
That's just funny. That's funny that you had the
I'm sorry, Ryan. I'll order another copy. I'll see what we get. The last time I checked, there were only like 7 copies left for purchase. And yeah, Rob's asking if you're trying to find the misprint to Ryan. Yeah,
I can't wait for that to be on eBay and people paying just a crap load of money for a misprint book.
Yeah,
I'm very curious what this book is.
Witchfire? I know. And I just think that would be hilarious if it was actually a Chuck Wendig book.
Porno? When you initially told me, I think I told you, I'm like, oh, that's definitely a porno book.
Yeah, you did say that.
That's definitely smut.
It'd be horrible if it actually was.
Dude, you have to read it and review it.
I know that's what somebody had mentioned. They're like, hey, can you review that Crystal Star book or Witchfire or whatever it is?
Walked into reading 50 Shades of Grey, you have to read that.
Yeah, I might do that because it just sounds like that would be kind of a fun thing to do. Is like, I'm going to review the Crystal Star. Oh wait, Witchfire. And yeah, Ryan says he wants one so bad. There was actually a comment to one of the editors of Del Rey. I said something to him today, because I thought it was fun for the expanded universe fans. Like, oh, we got this hype going where, oh, there's a misprint. We need to find this book. And a lot of people are doing that. Like Ryan, he desperately wants a copy. I did too. People are buying these things up. And I sent this tweet. I said, the mishap with the Crystal Star has brought some fun times for a lot of the EU fans. Now, I know many folks hunting down this misprint. I hope no one lost their jobs over this error. He says, of course not. Printing errors and such happen. I'm not really sure they're ever going to be collectible. And he put quotes around collectible. I thought that was kind of one of those, these EU people, they're not going to be collectible. Basically saying I'm a loser.
I don't know. Del Rey was really kind to me they sent me that care package. So yeah, no, it's just embarrassing for them.
Oh yeah. I am glad nobody lost their job. You know, I thought something that had to have been some money, you know, let's print all the wrong books with the wrong titles. And I don't know if they're actively seeking out these books to get them back from sellers, which I think they would be, but I don't know.
I'm sorry, I was reading that ahead.
Rob, the Witchfire book 1, and you want to know something funny? One review of someone who recently bought Witchfire got the Crystal Star instead.
They got to read about Waru, the crazy Star Wars villain ever.
If they had no clue that it was like that, you know, no knowledge of Star Wars whatsoever, and they read Waru, it's like, yeah, Witchstar was just bizarre. Witchfire.
I just think that everyone craps on Crystal Star way too much. There are worse Star Wars books out there.
Like one of the books that keeps getting mentioned over here for some reason, Heir to the Jedi.
That's a lot worse than Crystal Star. Crystal Star has its moments where it's awesome. Jaina and Jason, that's the first time they really kick ass, is in Crystal Star. See the timeline.
Yeah. I have
there's irritating things in Crystal Star, I will admit that. But like, is it as irritating as Planet of Twilight?
See, I read Planet of Twilight. I just really can't recall anything that happened in that book.
That's the one where Luke can't use the Force because someone will get struck by lightning.
Okay.
That's the annoying thing. That's also the end of Callistia's story.
Okay, I did not like that character. See, everybody, the expanded universe is great, but there is a lot of crap inside of it. Just like the new canon, a lot of crap.
There was more quality control, and there's like less crap to good ratio, I want to say, with the EU.
Right, that's true. There's a lot more books there. Rob, we just lost one potential EU fan because of that. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Witchfire customer.
We'll see. We'll see.
Like, oh my God, now I know what's wrong with these people. That's what they're thinking.
They think this is good.
Yeah. I'm giving up on Star Wars. Look what Disney did to Star Wars.
We all know that I have the unpopular opinion of I like Dawn of the Jedi Into the Void. I think it's a fine book. It's different. It's weird.
I didn't like that one. Doesn't she have she has a vision of someone in a black suit? Is that a name?
It's a reference to the comic.
Okay, it's not Vader, is it?
No, it's
I read the book. I was like,
I think it's Tesh who's the Force Hound for the Rakatan before they invade oh God, what is that? The Tithe system is where the Jedi are based on. I can't. It's been Dawn of the Jedi. There's so little of it. It's hard to remember the specifics because there's only 16 issues of the comic and one novel, and that's that whole era of Star Wars. They didn't get to flush it out so much before the expanded universe got decanonized.
Yeah. I have one question for you, Jeremy. Are you hearing a beep?
Yes, people are hitting me up on Discord. Really hardcore. I am
so. If I was set up on a timer that was like trying to warn me that the time was about to expire or something. This is my first time to do this by myself, guys. I don't know how long this thing's going to last. I guess there's no cutoff time for the live streams because I've gone well over 2 hours on my commentary videos.
Yeah.
Which those are a lot of fun. It'd be great if you joined me one of these days on one of those.
We need to do a commentary on something not Star Wars, though. I'm so burnt out on watching those films.
Yeah, well, see, I plan on doing Dragon Slayer. That'd be a fun one to do with somebody. If you want to watch that.
If I'm doing that with you, since I don't own it, the only way I can stream it has those stupid ads in it.
Oh, yeah. You got to find you a copy, a digital or a Blu-ray. Blu-ray, because
4K Ultra release of Dragon Slayer. That's what we need.
Yeah, it's not even on. It's a Disney film, not on Disney Plus.
It's a Paramount film.
Paramount, yeah. So they must have some sort of weird thing where it got lost somewhere. Maybe they forgot who owned it. The Emperor Tython, I think, is what he said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The girls are calling Jeremy. Rob says.
Oh, if only. Last thing I need right now.
It's funny.
Yeah, no, it's not even. It's someone in the Discord for freaking. Can you all hear that? I am so sorry. Someone is freaking. I'm going to go on the Discord and tell them to shut something up. I'm getting really irritated. It's really loud in my headphones.
Oh.
I mean, just really and I can't turn it down because it's on the same track as Matthews on my soundboard. Oh God, where is Discord?
It's just a little chime.
It's the same person, and it's freaking like shut up.
Emperor Boss, he must go home now. Great listening while I work. Hey, well, thank you for listening. Have a safe drive home.
Oh my God.
Work must be really boring if you're listening to me talk. Just kidding. Thank you. That's great.
Okay. Let's see if that does anything. I just muted everything on there. So okay.
I think you're good.
I think
something that I forgot to mention with fantasy. Are you still good on time?
Yeah, dude. I'm 2 hours behind you. You're the one who has.
That's true. 10:30 right now. I don't have to be to work. On Fridays, I go to work at 8. Work 9-hour work days, except Friday is 4 hours.
Oh, is that how they get around that?
Yep. And I get to come in 30 minutes later.
That is so peculiar.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I prefer the 8 hours.
California
5 days a week.
That. I'm just saying. They would have, people would be up in arms. They'd be rioting in the streets, but then they don't have to work in general.
And they'd still demand the half day Friday anyway.
Yeah. I don't want a half day. I have to have half days this semester. Like I have 2 of them.
Right.
And I hate working a half day. It's just the most annoying thing because you can't get anything in my job. You can't get anything done in a half day. Like it's just not possible.
Yeah.
And I always try to work on a project at my job. It's the only thing that keeps me sane at this point. And it's like you can't work on a project because most projects are going to take 8 hours or at least 6, including your lunch. And then you got like your first hour of the day getting the swing of things, and the last hour is cleaning everything up.
Yeah.
That's retail for you, though.
When we're going back to the fantasy, something that I forgot to mention. World of Warcraft is a game that I used to play. That goes along with escapism as well. To escape the reality of focusing in on a video game and a story that I still think is brilliant. World of Warcraft.
For me, it was Kingdom Hearts.
Kingdom Hearts. It was Disney characters?
Yes.
Right? Okay.
It is the most emo story ever, and it is cringe. Absolute cringe. I replayed Kingdom Hearts as an adult, and it was absolute cringe story. Yeah. But the gameplay is so simple and so fun. It's like they mashed a beat 'em up with an RPG.
Oh, well, you had your fun with it back in the day.
Oh yeah, no, like I still like the gameplay of it. Like it's so solid. That's the thing I don't like about Final Fantasy games is I don't like the turn-based RPG aspect of it. That's why I prefer something like Morrowind. You ever play Elder Scrolls?
Mm-mm.
Everyone's like, go Skyrim, but Skyrim's a piece of lazy garbage.
Rob D, I take working half day, but getting paid for a full day. Yeah. Well, we get the whole with the 9 hours for Monday through Thursday, and it's still a 40-hour work week. Sometimes it's nice to have that half day, but most of the time it's like nothing ever gets done. You get home early, you're like, well, I'm going to sit on the couch now. Emperor Critic says, have you read any Warhammer books, Matthew? No, I have not. I have a friend who was reading all of those.
I have read one.
You have read one?
Yeah, Gotrek and Felix. I read the first one of those. I don't remember it that well, but it was pretty solid.
Okay. Was there a reason why you didn't continue with it?
I got into the Dragonlance thing and stuff, and that was when I was D&Ding a lot. It was during that time where I'll be like, oh, I'll come back to it and then review it at some point, and it just never happened.
Okay. Yeah, it's like with the World of Warcraft books. That's another series that I want to continue. And that's the hard thing is when you're wanting to read Star Wars and you're like, well, okay, I want to take a break. I want to go over to the Wheel of Time. Maybe I should finish that. But then I get caught up with like a World of Warcraft book. But because Star Wars keeps putting out new books and they keep sending them to me, I'm going to read them. It's like a priority type thing too. When it's like, well, here's your book, review it. Okay, I'll do it.
Well, I had to say no, like, you know.
I know. It's getting close to that point. But this just got delivered to my house yesterday. It's a new World of Warcraft book called Traveler: The Shining Blade. This is like a YA novel.
I was going to say that looks like a kid's cover.
Yeah.
Very adorable, by the way.
And what's that?
It's very adorable.
Yeah, it is like little cartoony characters. It's funny because it's like the first book that came out, just called World of Warcraft Traveler, was in hardcover. And then the second book came out and they just did paperback. And when they sent that to me, they sent me the first book again in paperback. So I guess they're discontinuing going with hardcover and just sticking with paperback.
Well, in hardcover.
Yeah.
And like a lot of times with the kids' books, they just want the kids to read, and if they make it cheaper, it'll be. Yeah. I mean, like we were so blessed back in the day when they released Young Jedi Knights in hardcover.
Mm-hmm.
How rare that is.
Yeah.
It's like the only Star Wars series kid series I can think of where they're all in hardcover. I mean, Galaxy of Fear, actually half of that is in hardcover, I want to say.
Yeah.
Which those are rare. That's one of the rarities that we'll probably get into.
Yeah.
Yes, I am a fan of the Lord of the Rings novels, not necessarily films. The films are fine. I get why they won Oscars. Like, I do. Like, I contribute them into the end of high fantasy. That and Game of Thrones.
So I never watched the Game of Thrones, but I loved the Lord of the Rings. I've only read The Hobbit, but I have the three main Lord of the Rings books. Haven't read them yet. It's funny because I just bought a couple books to put in my office to have my little office library. So if somebody wants to come by and check out a book they haven't read before, they could take one, check it out, read it, return it. And I found a really old copy of The Hobbit and put that out there. And somebody's actually has checked that out and is reading it right now, which is really cool. I thought that was a pretty neat idea to take some books to work and like, hey guys, check out my library in my office. Read something you haven't seen. I still haven't taken a Star Wars book in there yet. I've got to figure out which book I would like to do that with, and I just don't know what to do.
Empire's End.
Yeah, that would be a good one. I think that would be so funny if that was the misprint, was just Chuck Wendig book inside the Crystal Star.
It was zero.
It's been hilarious. Which, as much as we crap on Aftermath, I do, in my opinion, have to say that Heir to the Jedi is way worse than Aftermath was. Aftermath was more of a slap in the face of like disappointment. Didn't want that story. Still don't want it. I wish I could erase it from my mind. But Heir to the Jedi.
I would agree with the first Aftermath.
Yeah.
Not with the sequels, especially Life Debt, where Life Debt goes from interspecies erotica to therapy Ewoks to John Burrell getting his eye graphically ripped out of his skull.
Yeah.
That was so nasty. And that was like one chapter, then the next chapter, then the next chapter. And I was just like, what's the tone of this book?
Yeah. Yeah. It was horrible. I'm glad he's gone. He's out of the picture for Star Wars right now. Here's a name that I'm definitely horrible at saying. Juanchito Hurtado. I'm from Oklahoma, guys. He says, I'm really interested in entering WoW novel universe. Is it good? And how could I start? Well, there are a lot of books, but there's not an overwhelming amount of books. Honestly, the first World of Warcraft book that I picked up and read was called Cycle of Hatred. It was really good. I didn't feel lost because I'd played the game in the past, but I never really paid attention to the story. But I knew like certain characters' names that I was familiar with. But I think the very first one that you should pick up is Rise of the Horde. I think that would be a great starting point. I don't have my books. Well, my books are right behind me. I'm going to scoot back and take a look to see which books you should start with. Rise of the Horde. That's what I have as a number one. Followed by, one second, Lord of the Clans. So go check those out. And they actually did a reprint of those two books not too long ago, which is pretty cool that they were doing that. They're a little bit bigger. They're paperback, but they're bigger. Highly recommend those. Official Rave Blitz. Hello, everyone. Well, hello, Official Rave Blitz.
Hello.
And have you ever read Warrior Cats? I have not.
I have heard of it. My ex was really into them. They're supposedly really solid books, like YA, I think.
He says it's a fantastic series. Yeah, I've never heard of that. So there's so many series of books out there that Emperor Katurk. I'm just going to call you the Emperor. Galaxy of Fear is the best Star Wars young reader series, in my opinion. I remember hearing that. Did they have covers for Galaxies of Fear? It was like kind of translucent, or
first two were holographic covers. They're Goosebumps ripoff books, but they're really well made, and they have a lot of EU in them. Actually, Thrawn's in one of them.
Really?
Yeah. They're fine books. To me, Jedi Apprentice slaps. I love Jedi Apprentice. That's my favorite.
I think I actually remember buying one of these Galaxy of Fear books at the Scholastic Book Fair in elementary school back in the 90s.
Yeah, that would be about time when they came out.
Gone, so I can't recall, but I'm pretty sure it had like a greenish cover and that the holographic thing.
Or probably book one or two, yeah.
Yeah. Rob, because if a book is hardcover, that means it's for adults, and that makes it cool. Children logic. That's Rob's always got the little zingers in there on the movie commentaries. Emperor, don't be trashing Heir to the Jedi. I'm still confused if you actually genuinely enjoy that book.
Life Dead.
Life Dead is the best in the trilogy, even if it's bad, but I liked it. See, I thought it was a step up from Aftermath, but then when the third book happened, it was such it was trying to lead you to believe things. We're going to get secrets revealed in this book because Snoke was such a mystery, and he had this Gallius Rax or something like that. Was that his name?
As the Emperor calls him, Galley.
Yeah, so you're like, is this the guy? No. It just leads to nowhere.
No, I thought they were like it was a step down each time. Empire's End is the worst, though.
Yeah, I mean, the whole Battle of Jakku thing could have been cool if a different author took control. That would have been a cool 5-book series, maybe. I guess, guys, hey, we need to head to Jakku. Kind of make it into like a Rogue Squadron type series or something with a new series with Wedge, you know. But I guess they want to keep things mysterious. Official Rave Blitz, would it be cool to have Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy as novels?
Yes, but only if William C. Ditz wrote Jedi Outcast. Jedi Academy, it doesn't necessarily matter. Just as long, in my opinion, it would have to tie into Scourge, which to me, Scourge is the follow-up to Jedi Academy. It's Jaden Core in both. Which Scourge, one of the few rare hardcovers I don't own because it's $100.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah.
It's funny how some of these hardcover books are so expensive and some of them are just like $1.
Well, that's because the Bantam ones were printed way too much of. No, when you get into the real expensive hardcovers, they're usually Sci-Fi Book Club size, and they didn't print any of them.
Right. So I know like the most expensive one that I've seen with the new canon is Tarkin. I found that one in a used bookstore for $100.
Yeah, Tarkin and A New Dawn. The first four are really expensive. Tarkin, A New Dawn, Era of the Jedi, and Lords of the Sith, because they were short printed.
That's pretty awesome. If you have them, you know.
I have all of them. Yeah. The only new canon book I don't own is the first Thrawn book. I just haven't felt like it.
Yeah. Rave. Yeah, we already read that one. Yeah, I remember playing those games. They were awesome.
Yeah, I mean, they just re-released Jedi Outcast on the Switch.
They did?
Yeah. My review of Jedi Fallen Order is if you want a great lightsaber combat game, buy Jedi Outcast. It's a lot better than Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah. Okay, Emperor. I think the Padme novel is worse than Aftermath. Padme novel is.
I would agree, because at least in Aftermath things happened. In Queen's Shadow, nothing happened for a whole book.
Yeah, it's like the layers of hell for some of these books. You know, you get like the top level, which is like, oh, this is bad. Like in my opinion, you got Last Shot, which you said you kind of enjoyed it. I hated that. I was like, this sucks. Then you got the Aftermath, which is like, this is garbage. And then you got things like Padme novel that you're like, why do I have a turd in my hand? Like, why do I have a turd in my hand? You know, it's crap. Star Wars Reviewed thoughts from a certain point of view.
It was a shameful book for charity that no one tried writing in except for Claudia Gray.
Bingo.
And maybe a handful of other people.
Yeah. Most of it forgettable, trash,
repetitive, miserable.
The stuff that Claudia did, she did the Kenobi and Qui-Gon.
Yes, which was our preview for Master and Apprentice, and I didn't really. We'd said, I think we both said in our reviews that we wanted an Obi-Wan Qui-Gon book. I know I did. By her, and we got it. It's the only thing I've asked for from except for Bring Back Legends. They gave us Marvel 108. It's like the only two things that Lucasfilms actually listened to.
Yeah,
to me.
So, so I don't want to offend Chuck Wendig, but it seemed to me like his writing style was too much for kids, and I felt dumb reading Aftermath.
It was I don't know, kids.
Yeah, that was definitely not. That was when I went on kind of like a little rant with Star Wars no longer being kid friendly. That was just, it was horrible.
It was graphically violent. Now, granted, he's not the only one who's done the horrible graphic violence in Star Wars, like tasteless and nonsensical. Delilah S. Dawson does nasty stuff in her books. I mean, Black Spire was so offensive to me. It's a book that is meant to promote a theme park attraction for children, and in it, your protagonist gets a hot poker shoved up her tear duct, and nearly gets her eyelid cut off with a scalpel. Like that's wrong. It's despicable. It doesn't need to be in this book. And with Aftermath, I mean, like there's
people banging in the closet on it.
Yeah. Someone gets their eye ripped out. Torture. I mean, Wedge is for a whole book. Like it's just, and granted, the EU did things like this. Like New Jedi Order is really dark. But I think you knew going into New Jedi Order that this was a darker Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
At least by the time Vector Prime was done.
Yeah.
I mean, you can look at the cover and look at that Satan monster next to Luke. On there, it's like, okay, this is going to be unpleasant.
A little frightening. Yeah.
And you start
like Death Troopers, and
Death Troopers, Red Harvest, but you knew by a book called Death Troopers, and it's a severed head on a meat hook.
dripping blood.
What you're going to get into. Aftermath was...
You know what you're getting to. Yeah, this one was like hey guys, find out what happens. And you're like, whoa, okay.
Okay, interlude. Yeah.
Here's Jar Jar Binks juggling.
That was the third one, but I mean, didn't we get wasn't it the Mandalorian from the show was in there? Is that
I don't know.
Mandalorian?
No. Are you talking about something Cobb, I believe, is the guy who like took on the Boba Fett armor?
Yeah.
What they're doing. I don't know what's going on. I'm just glad he's not there. I remember he went on a rage because he got poor reviews. Remember his social media out?
Yeah. I mean, I gave him a bunch of names and he didn't like that.
Yeah, he went overboard on his stuff.
Well, he started off aggressive and he called us like suckers and stuff, and it's like, what? Yeah. What are you doing? Are you trying to be the bad boy of Star Wars? Are you trying to outdo Karen Travis?
Everyone who gave him
go on.
Everybody who gave him a negative review was a homophobic hater that was for the Empire. They weren't part of the Luke Skywalker rebellion. And you're like, shut up.
It was the same. Karen Travis did similar things where if you didn't agree with her on the forums, you were a Tala fan. It's just like, you don't need that ego. Like, it's not necessary.
Well, moving on from the Aftermath nonsense, official Rave Blitz. I always wondered how a Jedi Outcast novel would be written. It's been such a long time since I played that game. I remember I played it probably junior high.
I mean, I know the way I'd want it to be formatted. Are you familiar with William C. Ditz's Dark Forces trilogy? So Dark Horse decided they were going to make graphic novels, and they were short novella-sized novels, like hardcovers that were the size of like a comic book trade paperback, and they had these beautiful art pieces in them. And Bantam said, "Don't you dare do that!" after they released the third one of them, and that's why they've never been reprinted. The first one is a prequel to the first Dark Forces game, and the second, the 2 and 3 are, I think, the second game. They're pretty awesome. They have got some gorgeous art. It's weird Star Wars though, but that's what I like about Kyle Katarn and stuff. It's always really weird, and I want it in that format, just longer.
Yeah, it would be cool. How do you guys fit the Clone Wars into Legends?
Stay tuned for the next not next Legends podcast, the Legends podcast after. I will refrain from how we discuss that in great detail in that episode.
Yeah, you guys, official Rave Blitz, check out Super Chainsaw Productions if you're not already subscribed to him. He's got great reviews over there and good podcast.
Yeah.
The Clone Wars, it's got some cool things towards the end of the series for me, but I still have a hard time accepting it. I know that's silly and stupid, but I do. Hurtado, both Clone Wars clashes with each other's canons.
Yep. Clone Wars is a mess. It had issues before Dave Filoni stepped in, but it definitely got worse.
Yeah, for Rob, for me personally, the Clone Wars takes place during the montage of Anakin as a Jedi Knight right after he gets knighted.
Yeah, it just doesn't. There's more issues with that than I think, and most people realize, and it is a mess, and you can't fit it all.
He's referring to the 2003 Clone Wars.
I know, I guess, but still, it doesn't quite work.
Right. Emperor, I don't think you fit the Clone Wars into the Legends timeline at all. It's almost like they knew the EU was going to get wiped when they made the show.
No, Dave Filoni is effing prick, doesn't care about anything. Leland Chi attempted to fix things, but by mid-season 2, when he made the Mandalorians pacifists, Leland Chi said, okay, when this series gets canceled, I'm going to step in and Holocron's going to fix it. There are ways to fix Clone Wars. And we talk about that in the next 2 Legends podcasts.
I'll let you talk about that on your podcast because the Clone Wars stuff is fast. I went through it real fast. I speed binged it whenever it was being taken off of Netflix. I was like, I got to watch this.
Complained about it the entire time.
Yeah. So, like, there were like a handful of episodes that I thought like I that actually captured my attention. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Everything else I just didn't really care for. I will be continuing to watch it on Disney Plus when season 7, right? That's what it is.
I'm
7?
not watching it. I can't stomach going through another season of that garbage. Especially that's not even going to be counted in the EU because like you can't count. You can't count anything past Clone Wars past the comic series Darth Maul, Son of Dathomir, which is weirdly dual canon. It's one of the only things that is. But like, what is it? Dark Disciple, which in my opinion is the worst new canon book, because it's the most offensive.
Which one?
Dark Disciple, the Asajj Ventress.
Oh yeah,
one. It craps on everything that Ventress and Quinlan Vos were. And doesn't give
even Kenobi credit. I like not Claudia Gray, Christy Golden as an author.
Yeah, I think she's fine. It's just that's really bad. It's like Alexander Freedman's Alphabet Squadron.
Yeah,
it's the same thing. It's just.
Yeah, and it was like to answer the question about the earlier. Someone asked about World of Warcraft stuff. Gosh, why do I keep saying Claudia Gray? Christy Golden writes a lot with World of Warcraft. She actually works for Blizzard, writing a lot of the story points for things. But Hurtado says, "Did you watch the Freddie Prinze Jr. Rage Quit?" Nope.
Sorry.
I guess he get mad at Star Wars and quit it. That's funny. I missed something up here too. I don't understand this question. What if the Clone Wars? What if it took place after the Dreadnought of Rendelli?
I'm not familiar with that story, so I'll look at it. I don't remember. Like, I know it exists. I've heard the name before, but I just don't remember right now. We talk about it because the Clone Wars is Comp Noir propaganda to a certain extent. They talk about the Fantasy Flight book, so that helps with fitting things in. You can't take the Clone Wars literally. It is a holodrama, and that is what it's established to be. It's its format in the series.
Yeah. See, Star Wars Review says, I'm getting a lot of negativity of Star Wars content from Chainsaw, and he says another thing down here. You seem to be negative toward a lot of Star Wars content. Which pieces do you actually... Well, if you go over and watch his channel, he does a lot of high praise for a lot of Star Wars stuff.
I do. I'm suffering from Star Wars fatigue, for one thing, from the new canon. With the EU, my love of the EU stems from the Dark Horse comics. Like your X-Wing Rogue Squadron, I adore that. I adore the Star Wars comic series that became Star Wars Republic. That was one of the first series I ever got into. I love the Knights of the Old Republic by John Jackson Miller. That's one of my favorites. I highly recommend that. Good luck finding Volume 1 of the Epic Collection, though. That is a very expensive trade to find. It's like $100 online now, dude. They haven't reprinted it. It's the strangest thing. It's one of the best. I used to buy that for people, believe it or not, if you wanted to get into Star Wars comics. I would buy and gift that to people.
Oh, wow. But yeah, Star Wars Reviewed, Jeremy Stupid Chainsaw is actually one of the reasons why I talk about Star Wars. I started off on YouTube doing little stupid unboxing videos like everybody else did at the time, and I'm like, I gotta find something else. And then found Matt Wilkins, who talks Star Wars. Like, I like Star Wars. I read Star Wars. Maybe I should talk Star Wars. And I found Stupid Chainsaw talking about Star Wars, and I was like, this is what I have to do. And we have a lot of differing opinions sometimes on the Star Wars content. He'll hate something, I'll like it. I'll like something, he'll hate it. Mm-hmm. And there are other things that we both enjoy quite a bit. The same stuff. But he's like I am. He's got his fair and balanced opinions and doesn't really steer anybody away from reading anything. Anybody you hate a book, but it's like, hey, check it out. You've got your opinion, I've got mine.
Look at my Dawn of the Jedi Into the Void review. It's probably the only positive one out there. I think it's a good book. Like, it's a different book. It shouldn't be your first Star Wars book. But if you want a breath of fresh air into Star Wars and like just looking at the EU and you're like, been there, done that sort of thing. Another super weapon. I don't know if I like this stuff. And you read Dawn of the Jedi Into the Void. It's a weird writing style. It takes a minute to like get used to it, but there's so much lore, and it's almost not Star Wars in certain ways, but at the same time, it's very Star Wars. So
yeah.
I
vouch for it. He's definitely got a love for Star Wars. He's not negative to it all the time.
I mean, I don't like the new movies,
right? Which a lot of people don't. I've never felt that I never liked a Star Wars movie until I saw The Last Jedi. That's when my confusion kicked in, and I was like, I don't know. And then I saw this last movie, and I was like, it was fun. I need to watch it again though, because I don't understand what happened.
Yeah, it was.
Which is why I'm looking forward to the book, to dive deeper into it and understand what's going on. But Hurtado has another off-topic question. How does canon back then justify the Katana fleet when the Republic was supposed to be unarmed?
Oh, there is an explanation for this. I don't remember it, but yeah, I know what you're talking about because I had the same question. Ask Matt Wilkins; he can probably come up with that off the top of.
So wait, hold on a second. This is an expanded universe question. The Katana fleet. Republic was supposed to be unarmed. So, like, how Mon Mothma disarmed the.
Is this new canon?
Remember what the Katana fleet is. But I do know that Mon Mothma, remember, in I think it was the Aftermath trilogy, Mon Mothma wanted to disarm the entire Republic.
Character, yeah.
While they're still at war with the remnants of the Empire, let's get rid of our army.
That's book 2 where that came up, because isn't she nearly assassinated? That's the climax of Life Debt.
Yeah, I believe so. Some rally or something.
I was like, there is an explanation though for it. I'm almost certain.
So I get the Dreadnoughts of Rendelli is a comic in which Anakin gets his scar. Okay,
yeah, it is. It is in the Republic comics. It is a very good duel between him and Asajj Ventress. It's one of my favorite lightsaber duels. Very underrated. No one really talks about it.
Star Wars understands. He says Star Wars fatigue is a thing. Yeah, it is really hitting people a lot now. Sadly,
It's oversaturation.
I think it's just the disconnectivity of like not knowing what they're doing, and with all the books where like, hey, we're going to talk about characters that aren't in the films because we don't know what these characters are. Let's talk about somebody else.
Yeah, and I want to specify, I don't have an EU fatigue. It is solely just what's going on right now with Star Wars.
Yeah. And like for me, going back to Rogue Planet will definitely be that breath of fresh air because I've just been consuming all the new stuff lately. Official Rave Blitz and the Battle of Boz Pity could be placed between season 3 and 4 of the Clone Wars.
There's certain things from Clone Wars you can place around things your big issues with Clone Wars come from, number one, Anakin and being Ahsoka's master. The other thing is what Karen Miller did with Wild Space, which is Anakin's knighthood being bumped from 2 years into the Clone Wars to 4 months into the Clone Wars. That doesn't work, because then suddenly you have things that Anakin was very traumatically scarred. That's one of the things I liked about the Clone Wars multimedia project, is there is this path to the dark side. And granted, Dave Filoni does put some stuff in there that is really good with that. Like it becomes Abeloth in Fate of the Jedi that they fight, but the father, the brother, and the sister.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't remember.
Good dark side moment. That thing is very fascinating, and we do talk about that a lot, because you can't get rid of that. That had to have happened because of what happened with Abeloth in Fate of the Jedi and the climax of Fate of the Jedi. Also, you have Anakin torturing Poggle the Lesser after the second Battle of Geonosis. Although I don't agree with having the second Battle of Geonosis. That's kind of redundant. Mm-hmm. But like capturing Poggle the Lesser was a cool moment. But yeah, no, certain things work in certain ways. Also, Barriss Offee betraying the Jedi Order doesn't make sense. Even Peel being sacrificing himself in Clone Wars doesn't make sense, because in the beginning of Coruscant Nights, he's gunned down in the street. I mean, the big continuity error I always go to is they used it twice. Like, they did it in a Clone Wars spin-off comic called Shipyards of Doom, and then they did it in the same story arc where Even Peel sacrifices himself, which is in order for Anakin and Obi-Wan and Ahsoka to sneak behind enemy lines, they have to freeze themselves in carbonite. How does Vader not remember that when he's afraid to put Luke through the carbon freezing chamber, and so they test it on Captain Solo? That doesn't make any sense, and that's contradicting the films. There's just certain things, or technically Wolf Yularen, it was a continuity error that Dave Filoni, because Wolf Yularen is in the Death Star scene in the original Star Wars where Vader chokes that officer. He thought that Wolf Yularen was a Grand Admiral, and that's why he's Admiral Yularen in the Clone Wars, which they fixed in the new canon that ISB was created and he became Colonel Wolf Yularen in that. But I don't remember if there is an EU fix for that.
See, a lot of this stuff is over me because I'm not that stupid in the expanded universe yet. It's like I jumped from the New Republic series or era to I got to start over, and here I am at Rogue Planet still.
Rogue Planet is an awesome bridge to New Jedi Order.
Okay, yeah, I remember hearing that. It's like something that happens way towards the end.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It establishes a key factor in New Jedi Order.
Okay, Rob, I jumped up and down when I found Epic Collection Old Republic Volume 1 at this BAM for $20 about 6 months ago.
Congrats, dude. I picked it up in a eBay lot with Volume 2 and then the first two original Marvel Epic Collections for about $80, which is about cover price. It's a little less than cover price for each one of those. So, yeah, if you can find it cheap, it is an excellent read. Would highly recommend it. That whole series is really good, and it's a fun storyline. It's one of the best duos of Zane and Griff. They're just great together.
We have Hurtado answering his. Sorry, I gotta look to see where this was. Justify the Katana fleet when the Republic was supposed to be unarmed. It's from the Thrawn trilogy.
I think it's explained in Outbound Flight. Either an Outbound Flight or there's a short story Zahn did several short stories, a lot of them for for the adventure journals. And the thing with Zahn is Zahn usually, when he did EU stuff, he focuses on his own characters. Especially once he finished Hand of Thrawn duology, he only went further into the timeline with Survivor's Quest, which is a early in Luke and Mara's marriage book. He then went back and he started fleshing out the backstories to his characters, and that's some of it worked, some of it didn't. Like Choices of One and Allegiance don't really work. There's good elements in both of those books. The problem with those books is that you have the Rebellion era books, but they don't read kind of like Rebellion era books. Like the characters Luke, Leia, and Han kind of act more like they're New Republic versions of themselves, which is a little off-putting. But also, Luke and Mara keep nearly meeting over and over again when in canon they can't meet because they meet for the first time at Heir of the Empire. I mean, Mara sees Luke in Jabba's palace in Return of the Jedi, which is a dumb thing in canon. It's one of the Zahn things I don't like. But I mean, like, I accept that. But he did that, and then he did Scoundrels, which was his Ocean's 11 book with Han, Chewie, and Lando, which didn't make any sense. It shouldn't have had Han and Chewie in it. It should have just been Lando and a gang of people, because it kind of devalues Rebel Dawn and how Han screws Lando over, and that's why Lando's mad at Han in Empire. So
Okay.
he they forgive each other, and then Han screws him over again. And it's like that kind of, it's like makes Lando look dumb, and I don't like that because I like Lando.
Official Ravelets, he's currently rewatching the Clone Wars to determine what episodes can still fit into Legends, and if you could just ignore certain dates
here. Just think of the Fantasy Flight program, that thing that says that it was things were changed by Comp Noir, and then you can really start playing with things, because you can't, not just the series itself, you have to look into the tie-in stuff. There were a bunch of comics that made by Dark Horse that are they're tied into this TV show. You had a young adult series that was tied into this TV show. You had 4 novels that we've talked about on here that are very much tied to this TV show. And
yeah, he mentions that here later on down in the comment. He says you can't really rip out the Clone Wars without affecting later EU material.
Exactly. Yeah. And we talk about it on the Legends podcast coming up. We talk about a lot of fixing things that we would like to see done when the EU gets continued.
Yeah. So is Dylan going to be on you with that one?
Yes, Dylan on the next 2. Yeah.
He knows his Star Wars too, guys. If you haven't checked him out.
Yeah, helped big time with that.
See, every time I hear him talk about Star Wars, I'm like, I'm a simpleton. So we got Rob. He says, I think they only thought the Katana fleet belonged to the Republic. Like Thrawn knew what the Clone Wars was, but he was only correct in describing it from a certain point of view.
Also, you have to understand, this comes from, I think, Heir to the Empire. Heir to the Empire has been changed. I don't know if you knew this, Matthew.
No.
George Lucas changed the date of when the Clone Wars happened, because back in the day, back when Bantam era, you couldn't write the Clone Wars. You were not allowed to. So there's very few things in the EU at this point that think back to that. Because also, this is the same era where we thought that the Jedi acted like Callistia did. And that wasn't the case. So the EU had to retcon that with Altus and their like a hippie commune of like Jedi, which I really love. Altus's Jedi Order within the Jedi Order, and that he and Yoda just can't stand each other is a great thing. But with this, in the 20th anniversary of Heir to the Empire, it is changed from when first printing of Heir to the Empire was, because the Clone Wars were not in the right time period, because it was thought that Luke and Leia would have been little kids during the Clone Wars, and that is not the case. And George changed that, and they had to go back and change it. Also, you're also talking about certain, when it talks about the Clone Wars, the Noghri have a distorted view of the Clone Wars from Darth Vader, is one of the explanations. And Thrawn wasn't heavily involved in the Clone Wars. He was sent away, as I recall, at this time. And that's why Luke and the Rebels, the New Republic, didn't know he existed when the Thrawn trilogy happened.
So is it basically kind of, they're doing like a repeat of all this stuff, like with the new canon? That's why he's, like in the Rebels, he's shipped off, he blasted off into unknown space, because it's like a callback to how the expanded universe.
You have to explain why he's not affecting the original trilogy.
Right.
And also explain how Ezra's not affecting the original trilogy, and rather just kill Ezra, which should have happened, because they kill Kanan, and it's one of the saddest things I've seen in the new canon. I was borderline in tears. It was legit, like, moved me.
Yeah.
Although he and Hera have a kid together, and Twi'leks, and I'm still of the EU mindset that Twi'leks and humans can't breed.
Right. It doesn't make sense.
Doesn't work for me, and they make horrible monster children. Actually, Kanan and Hera's kid doesn't look nearly as bad as that. You remember that storyline in the Clone Wars when that clone deserted and had the family with the Twi'lek?
Yeah.
And they look,
yeah,
it's just bad. It's the combination of the Clone Wars animation style I don't like, but I called them monster children. Like, they were just mutants.
Yeah.
It's just nasty.
It's like little xenomorph creatures.
And they don't look like that in Rebels, so I guess you may have a continuity error. I mean, he looks like a human with green hair. It's weird. The end of Rebels is very rushed.
Yeah. Because I don't think they knew what they were doing with that either. Official Raid Blitz, and you can't rip out the Clone Wars without affecting. We already saw that one. Yeah, we saw that one.
I mean, an episode you could omit is the R2D2 C3P episode where they're trying to find the cake topper for Padme. And
oh yeah,
that and the Jar Jar Mace Windu team up are like the bottom. That's like the lowest tier of those episodes, where it's straight for kids and it's just bad.
Yeah, I got a couple more here, and then I think it's still about time to call it night after the next few. Actually, in Aftermath, what happened? You said in Aftermath 1, Mon Mothma wants to demilitarize the New Republic at the beginning of Empire's End. She didn't even mention it. Okay,
that's yeah. I think she didn't take kindly to being nearly assassinated.
Right. It's just what it would take in real life, too, is everybody's, we got to control everything. It was like, okay, well, when someone comes and tries to do something to you, you might change your mind.
I remember something that irritated me in New Republic Bloodlines is Claudia Gray was like, Leia was reflecting on how she didn't always get along with Mon Mothma, but she was the best chancellor they ever had. And I'm like, I don't think so. I just don't. Yeah. I wouldn't agree with that, but I love Mon Mothma in the EU, and she's a different character. And I like young Mon Mothma in the new canon. I just don't like her post the aftermath books on. It's just no. It just wasn't.
Says he's currently making his way to the Yuuzhan Vong War for the first time. He started in the Thrawn trilogy and just read Jedi Search,
which is the first Jedi Academy book. Yeah, good. Yeah, no, honestly, if you want some hints at the Vong that are before this, check out the first KOTOR game, Maul Lockdown, Rogue Planet, of course, and the Crimson Empire 2 Council of Blood. That Dark Horse comic series. Although Crimson Empire 2 isn't that great overall. It's still a solid. Crimson Empire 1 is just fantastic, and nothing in the Crimson Empire series could hold up to that. But Crimson Empire 2, it's the only reason to really read it is for the Vong reference, because they're just there. And after you read that and you go back and you're like, there's all these hints to things. Also, all Bantam suddenly makes sense in their ridiculous plots because of that.
These Vong, I don't know really anything about them, but are they? It reminds me of when I hear about them. It's kind of like everything is like a build up to the Vong Wars or something. That
so
it's kind of like the end game or something for Star Wars EU.
The Vong was a race of creatures that were banished by the Jedi thousands of years ago, which I think Dawn of the Jedi was building to.
Right.
After they got rid of the Rakatan, that the Vong would be, because the Vong are cut off from the Force, and they developed technology to combat the Jedi. Like, all of their weapons are organic, they're living things and stuff, and they can go toe-to-toe with Jedi. They're the ultimate Jedi killing machines. And well, New Jedi Order is fascinating, not just because they're these things and you understand why Palpatine had this. He explains like how Thrawn was involved with the Empire when the Empire was super xenophobic. Like, he knew there was these threats out there, and like Palpatine was preparing, which makes it gives you the thoughts of if the Empire had won against the rebellion, would the Vong War, the Yuuzhan Vong conflict, have been so horrendous to the galaxy? Do you want me to throw some spoilers out there for it?
I don't care.
You don't care? The New Republic loses Coruscant in the war. I mean, tons of characters get killed. Luke doesn't want to get involved in the beginning because he's worried that his order will fall to the dark side. There's a whole bunch of things. I mean, like, the infamous death. I'm sure that Vector Prime.
Don't tell me that. Wait,
you
Chewie?
Yeah, you know that. That's common knowledge at this point. It upset the fan base to the core. New Jedi Order is super dark. I like it. I've liked what I've read of it. I've not read all of it, but I'm like familiar with it. The only bad stuff in New Jedi Order to me is the Invasion comics by Dark Horse, because it came out too late, and it focuses around characters that you're supposed to care about that have been retconned in as like always being there, and they haven't. I mean, like, the characters you love do cool things in Invasion, and that's why you read Invasion. But like, these new characters, they're not that memorable.
What's funny to me is like some of the stuff you're describing sounds like Timothy Zahn is trying to bring back a lot of that stuff into canon.
Yeah, I thought they were going to bring the Vong in, because you saw in the Clone Wars, Dave Filoni was planning to have a Vong encounter.
What? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
it's like in the Thrawn, like, he came to help the Empire because there's a bigger threat coming.
Yeah,
and then what is it? I can't remember. It was the second.
It's the Grisba invasion. They were the Chiss Ascendancy was having difficulty with.
Okay, it just seems like Timothy Zahn is having a hard time trying to separate from.
I don't think he wants to.
Yeah,
Timothy Zahn does what Timothy Zahn wants.
Yeah, I mean, isn't in the second Thrawn book in the new canon? Doesn't he have that Jedi like lightsaber resistance armor?
Yeah,
that was created, right? Yeah,
yeah. There is. It's different, but yeah, no, there are things that like.
It just sounds like oh, we got to go through
it. There's certain Mandalorian armor I think that you can't put a lightsaber through.
Yeah. Well, Hurtado says in Dark Force Rising, Zahn places the Clone Wars around 40 BBY.
Yeah, and that's not. It's not completely correct.
Rob, I've never seen the entirety of the Clone Wars because a lot of the plot descriptions just sound stupid.
There are certain episodes that are good, like the clone episodes are pretty good. Fives, one of my favorite Star Wars characters, is from Clone Wars.
The Yuuzhan Vong are inevitable. That's a good one.
What's really cool with the Vong Matt, I threw common knowledge out there. It's not the first time Coruscant's been taken. It's like Coruscant gets taken every 100 years, or it gets attacked, or it just attacked. It's like the punching bag of Star Wars. That's one thing, with the new canon that I like, is there was another battle of Coruscant with the First Order. They never took 000, as the clones called it. There was none of that. That's awesome. That just dawned on me. That is really cool. Because they had that mobile Snoke ship was their mobile capital. I mean, that's genius.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jason Fry.
I think it was supposed to be retconned by Colin Trevorrow's script, if that was accurate, which they had taken over Coruscant.
Oh, they probably did. They took over everything. That's just apparent from the new canon.
Yeah. Hurtado says he spoiled himself with everything a few years ago. He just wanted to read it himself. Yeah. I had some guy that ruined everything for me, really, whenever I was trying to collect all the books. And I'm standing in the Star Wars section just browsing. Some guy comes over and just starts talking to me. It starts dropping all these spoilers, and I'm like, I haven't read this stuff yet. He's like, oh, oops. Then he turns around and walks away. Like, what a jerk.
I'm so immune to spoilers, because honestly, I don't remember. Dylan will always spoil things for me. Every Legends podcast has been spoiled, and I forget about it. So Dylan has to repeat the spoiler to me. I mean, I can't tell you, if you go back through the Legends podcast, how many times the Karen Travis Republic Commando books have been spoiled for me, and I forget.
Yeah, that's good, because I will too. But there's one spoiler that I will not forget, because I'm at the point now where I know what happened to the character. But now that Matt's here again, going back to our Wheel of Time discussion, a friend of mine read all these books, and he just flat out tells me who a certain character is. And I'm like, well, what's the point of reading this now? But I stayed with it, and then 4 books later, when the thing happened, I was like, I knew that was happening. It bothered me. And Matt says, Zahn said he didn't have the bong in. Okay. I don't know if that's a typo, if you're making drug references there. Zahn said he didn't have the Vong in mind when he wrote that, but it does fit perfectly.
Well, I mean, Kevin J. Anderson had a plan, if I'm not mistaken, to have a new Sith Order come in and attack the Republic, the New Republic, but they didn't go ahead with that. Lucasfilm said no, and that's sort of where the basis of New Jedi Order sort of comes from, if I'm not mistaken.
Matt also says that it was George who had given Zahn the timeline for the Clone Wars. Lucas would later change his mind.
Yes, and that's what I said. Yeah.
Yeah. And he also said, I can't believe you let this amateur on your channel over me.
I don't know, Matt. Why'd you just say, I'm not free in the evenings, and then you come and harass us?
Harass? And gives us the eyes. Right. Well, I think now is a good time to call it quits. It's almost 11:30 p.m. Central Time.
All right.
I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, Jeremy, for having me on here. We need to do this again.
Made me feel comfortable for having my first guest on here. Thought it was pretty good talking Star Wars, fantasy. I'm so happy that you watched the Dragon Slayer from 1980.
You did it. It was top of the list of things to watch, because you recommended it for 4 years to me.
Yes. So anybody else who's watching that hasn't seen it, take his word for it. He waited way too long to watch it, and then he did. He's happy. And yeah, that's it. So once again, thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Thank you for everyone who tuned in, watched, and a lot of fun talking with you guys. Until next time, have a good one.
Later, dudes.